how did you identify that Daniel was special?
For me, it's he's probably pound for pound one of the most impressive songwriters I've ever worked with in my life.
Yeah.
Period. Like, one, his ability to translate what he's feeling and translate what he's living into lyric and then into song, into melody is uncanny. But for me, he just has the gift. Like, seeing him, I remember when we were finishing Freudian, we would end every single one of the sessions playing basketball outside because we were working at a Red Bull studio. So we would just hoop, right? And there was one day where he was hooping and he got really winded, so he had to. Lungs
yeah, like lightheaded.
Yeah, well, I mean, then I think his asthma was acting up, but
Okay.
and so he had to sit down, and so he got winded, and like he was like, "I need a second." So he was like this, breathing heavy, and I heard him start to sing something, and I was just like, "Yo, what are you singing?" And he's just like, "Yo, somebody passed me the phone," and so we passed him the phone, and he recorded. I can't remember what song it was for.
It was the verse of Transform.
Yeah. And so then he records it like half-winded after just playing basketball. And like we heard the melody and like the whole game stopped. We were all just like
ran back in the studio.
We gotta get in there.
Sweating.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like that's his process. Then me seeing him he's literally channeling a greater power that's like through him.
While getting cooked. But he's
getting work still, low key. But it's like for that to happen and for him to end up channeling something that fire, I was like, no, like you have it. And artists like that, they don't come around very often. You know what I'm saying? So that for me is when I'm just like, no, like he's got it. Like it's a gift. It's 100% a gift.
In today's special episode, where the spotlight shines on the phenomenal journey of Jordan Evans and Matthew Burnett, from teenage prodigies behind the boards for legends like Eminem and Drake, to masterminds in artist management for the illustrious Daniel Caesar. Their golden touch has not only shaped hits that have resonated globally, but also meticulously crafted careers, leading Daniel to a staggering 10-time platinum status in the US, which is also considered diamond, with 2 iconic songs, Get You, featuring Caliuchis, and Best Part, featuring H.E.R. In this dialogue, we're diving deep into the world of music production and management by way of a partnership with the one and only Daniel Caesar. Through their company Golden Child Recording, we uncover the layers of their early success and the strategic moves that propelled them to the forefront of the industry. Alongside this podcast with Matthew and Jordan, I'll also be sharing insights from my own trajectory managing another formidable Canadian superstar, Jessie Reyez, alongside with Byron Wilson. Now, Jessie and Byron aren't joining us for the podcast, but I'm going to be drawing parallels and learning from our collective ascensions in the dynamic business. You see, the thing is, all of us are Canadian, coming into a global music industry, trying to maneuver and figure out this lay of the land and landscape to better our business. And the great thing about our relationship, we got to share a lot of information because our ascensions were coming up at the same time. We chose different paths, but the conversation still continued and the collaboration still continued as well. So this conversation is half parts memory lane, half parts friends catching up, but all parts information that you, the viewer, can either apply to better understand the nuances of this interesting space we call the music business. Ladies and gentlemen, a conversation like this doesn't come cheap. Without further ado, Matthew Burnett and Jordan Evans.
We have here 2 incredible, inspiring producers, managers, entrepreneurs in the music space. They've done an amazing amount of things, a plethora of things in the music business. Canadians, Ajax's very own.
Ajax.
Shout out to
say
Ajax.
Pickering, but we're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
It's your call.
Beside each other.
It's your call, however you want. This is Matthew Burnett over here, and this is Jordan Evans. Again, it's an honor. I really appreciate you guys sitting down, having the time to talk. You know, this is more about, you know, the experience of the music business more than anything else, and just kind of like, you know, figuring out or having a conversations just in regards to how you went about your journey and just putting people on game, because I think a lot of people need it out there. And you know, it's just, you know, for the people who are coming up in the business to really understand how things kind of work from the level that you guys did it. Right. But it's crazy, actually, you know, if I could tee this up even a little bit more, these two were producers first and foremost, and at the age of 18 and 19, were doing records in and about that area, that time. You're doing
Yeah.
records for everyone from Drake, Nicki Minaj, Eminem. I mean, the list goes on and on. You guys at the age of 18 and 19 did Not Afraid for Eminem, which in 2014 went diamond. That's 10 million records sold. At that point, you guys are like, this is it. Like, everything is going to be as easy as this.
Yeah.
Like, was it like...
It definitely was. To be honest, I mean, for me, I didn't really know what any of that meant. It was like I was so young,
Yeah.
getting into the business for the first time.
So you were like, oh, cool.
I was cool. Like, when are we linking again to work? You know what I'm saying? There's just
Well,
like, no, like, you don't understand. Like it debuted #1 Hot 100. I was like, what is the Hot 100? Like,
You didn't know.
for me, I didn't have any idea as to what any of that meant. So everybody's going crazy, and I'm just like, I was ready for the next session to get back to work. I was ready to keep it moving. You know what I mean? So for me, I didn't really have an idea as to what any of that meant.
Yeah, for context,
in
like,
real time.
that record debuted at #1 on the Hot 100. And at that point, I think it was the 15th record in the history
Yeah, it
of the
wasn't
Hot
many.
100 to ever
Right.
do that.
Right.
It's like pre-streaming, so it didn't
Yeah.
happen often.
Right.
You had that.
That too, right?
Yeah.
So there was,
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, like, to build on that, because that was it was a development period for us.
Yeah.
You know, like that was, you know, like Boy Wonder produced that record, and we were in a position of co-production. So we assisted with the record, but it's like that whole period was just us trying to get to that level where we could say, okay, we're sharpening the skills. You know, being able to say we can produce records now too. You know, so it was kind of like the connection of being connecting with Boy Wonder and other producers and songwriters, and being around at that time when, you know, the first wave of Boy Wonder, Drake, and these first artists that started to take off, and we got to be a part of that. You know?
Yeah. So take me back then. So in the beginning, like, let's go even before that. Like, tell me about your upbringing. How did you get into music? What started for you?
I think yours is probably more interesting. But I played drums as a kid.
Okay.
That's kind of it. Wasn't a musical family. It was kind of just like, I don't think, you might agree with this, like, being a producer wasn't really, it's not like it is now. So many people have tried their hand in it. You know, this is when, you know, this is at the very beginning of production software. Like, I literally remember, like, Ninth Wonder, he did the Beyonce record, and then he did Threats.
Yo, I love that.
You know what I mean? And I remember when people were talking about it, like, he did that on Fruity Loops. It's called Fruity Loops back then. He did it on Fruity Loops.
Shout out to Fruity Loops.
Yeah, I remember that. And it was, you know, the only way you had exposure to producers was, like, I had, I don't know if you remember Scratch magazine.
Of course.
I had Scratch magazine.
Yeah,
so I had the subscription. So it was like DJ.
That's why I first found out about Dilla.
Right.
It was a Scratch magazine. Yeah.
So I'd be, you know, reading about the producers, the beat makers. So it was like, it wasn't really something that too many people did.
Yeah.
But then we quickly found a few people in our area. You know, I've, you know, we have older siblings. So that was like the connection to people like Boy Wonder and Tyler T Minus.
So you found those producers through Scratch magazine?
No, we found them through, for me, it was my sister.
Okay.
Went to school with these guys who were doing it.
Right.
Back then it was like Battle of the Beatmakers circuit. So there was like a small community of beat makers. They weren't even producing records yet. I mean, they were, but it was like mixtape stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't professionally.
Yeah.
But the beats, they were so crazy. So it was like, oh, I want to be a part of that. You know, I want to be able to do that. You know, so that was kind of how I started.
Yeah. Tell me about your upbringing, man.
So my journey started pretty early, before I was even born, funny enough. My mom was practicing for her classical piano exam when she was pregnant with me. And so she always said every time she'd be practicing, I'd be kicking, going crazy.
Really?
So she's like, out of all my kids, she's like, I knew that you were going to be musical. I was just like, okay, interesting. So to this day, she always holds it over my head and says, hey, don't forget, I'm the reason why.
I'm the reason why.
Shout out to mom. So that's where it began. Then obviously I was born. She had all my siblings in piano lessons from like a young age. I was like 3 years old doing like piano lessons, which was cool. And then both of my parents are pastors, so I grew up in the church. So that's like the perfect playground for like fostering talent, you know, getting your reps in. So I grew up playing in church. I grew up playing keys, then playing drums. And that's kind of how I got my start. Like, then I started gigging when I got to high school, like playing in bands and stuff like that. And then it was actually Jordan who played me the first beat that I heard from Boy Wonder. And he was like, yo, listen to this. And I remember pressing play, and I'm just like, yo, this is fire. And he's just like, yo, like, my sister's friend, his name is Boy Wonder, like, he made this. I was like, what do you mean he made this? And he's like, he made this. And like, just the idea of like somebody creating an MP3, and this is like LimeWire era, like Napster era. And I'm just like, what, like, he made this MP3? And he was just like, yeah, like, he actually made this. And like, for me, as somebody who was just so accustomed to playing music that was already created, the idea of being able to create music yourself from scratch just blew my mind. And I was like, we were grade 10 maybe? Grade 9, 10? Grade 9, yeah. So it's just like, I was used to just like, you know, playing music and just, oh yeah, like I lifted the song, I'm playing this Alicia Keys song, whatever. And then to hear something that somebody made themselves, I was just like, nah, I gotta know more about this. And that's when we started to become obsessed. Because to this point, there was nobody in our circle that was doing that. So I was also looking at it kind of like strategically, being like, yeah, there's so many amazing musicians that I know in my circle. And it's like, you know, it's healthy competition, but I'm just like, nobody's doing this. Nobody's even thinking
You
about
heard it
this.
right away when
And I
you
was
hear
just like, yo, like,
when you would hear a Boy Wonder beat. The first beat I ever heard of Boy Wonder, somebody played it to me in a car because they were going to premiere the record at like a government nightclub.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it was Still Fly with Drake.
Yeah.
And I just remember, because I remember the melody from Big
Right.
Timers, right?
Right,
But
right.
I heard how he flipped it.
Right.
And I was like, yo, what is this? Actually, no, that wasn't the first thing I heard. The first thing I ever heard him do was Pull Up Rochester.
Yeah. That was a good beat.
ooh,
Crazy.
classic,
And I was like,
classic.
so I'm like, Toronto people did
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
It never
It makes
sound,
sense.
yeah, it made no sense.
It makes sense.
It did make, to me, it didn't make, because I didn't remember hearing anything like
That's
that.
interesting. That's interesting.
I don't remember it sounds sonically like that
Yeah.
in Toronto.
Right.
Shout out to Rochester Juice, by the way.
Right.
That's the homie. He's good people.
Right. But it's interesting. You like full circle. He did that. Like for context, for people who haven't heard it, it was, and the reason why I think it makes sense is because we're kind of all like Caribbean, like immigrant
Oh yeah,
families.
yeah.
So it was the dance hall influence
Yes.
that he brought back maybe 10 years later with like Rihanna and
Yeah,
Drake and all that.
right.
And then it's like, and him and Seven Thomas, and them, it's like,
Yeah.
that's Toronto influence.
So
to me,
ahead of his
you know?
time, man.
For
Shout
sure.
out to
For
Wonder.
sure.
Yeah.
I meant like at the time, I just never sonically heard anything like that. It was
Right.
like, it kind of, to me, had like this, it was like futuristic. It was like similar, not like Neptune's, but it was
Right,
like,
right.
it just didn't sound like
Mm.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. And then I heard City Is Mine.
Yeah.
And obviously I was like, when I first heard City Is Mine,
Yeah.
first of all, I was like, I don't know who this rapper is, but this guy's crazy. When he said
Right.
T.O.R. on T.O., I was like, oh, this guy's from Toronto? This
Yeah.
guy's crazy. And then come to find out it's Drake, like,
Mm.
oh, he's incredible.
Right.
But yeah, Boy Wonder, you're hearing Boy Wonder
Yeah.
early, even before this. You guys are hearing
Yeah,
him.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember probably grade 9, maybe grade 10. Like him. By this point, you know, we had connected. He was helping us, you know, giving us pointers. We just started making beats, right? We were terrible, but it's just like, oh,
Trash.
try this, try that, you know.
Yeah.
And then I remember like him giving us like early Drake mixtapes. Like just give it to people at school, like just play it so people can hear it. Like that's how early in the
Wow.
process it was. You know, it's like this is what I'm working on. Like
Yeah.
let people hear it, you know, let your friends hear it.
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
And so you guys met in high school. When did you guys meet?
Who?
You two.
Oh yeah,
Grade
grade
9.
9.
Yeah.
Grade
Basketball. It was basketball. I think in
Hoop.
basketball practice.
Hoop dreams, yeah.
Yeah.
Hoop dreams?
That's where it started.
Hoop dreams.
Legend has
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You can
I can
hoop.
hoop a little bit.
That's what I
Stop
heard.
growing.
I've never seen
I had to move. I had to
Yeah,
move on. You know?
music.
Yeah.
Went into music. It's like,
That's like that
this
every
might be,
story.
this might be the path.
I got to it quick, man. Grade 9, I was just like, you know, I did the hoop dreams thing for grade 9. Cool.
You're a
Then-
strong spot up shooter though. I remember those days.
Yeah, I just
As
had
a
to
driving
Yeah.
kick.
and just-
Okay.
Yeah. Then grade 10, I'm like, you know what? Like one of the football teachers finessed me into being like, yo, you like your chest is kind of like, yo, you got like a chest, my boy. And I was just like, I was like, yo, like come up for the team. Did football for grade 10. And then I woke up in the summer after grade 10. I'm just like, what am I doing, man? Like I have no future in basketball. There's no future in football. Let me just sit to what I'm amazing at. And I just doubled down on music and that was it.
And this is in Ajax. This is so
Yeah.
the context to this, to the people that are watching this, you guys know about Boy Wonder because he's also from Ajax.
Yeah.
Right. And what's crazy is that there's another producer who's a legend in the game now.
Yeah.
You guys knew him as Tyler, but the world knows him as T-. So between
Brother Banks is like iconic.
Yeah, those are
Brother
original.
Bags was fire.
It's like MySpace.
Yeah, bro. Brother Bags
MySpace.
was, oh my, I used to have this guy's beats on repeat.
Yeah.
He was so good. I mean,
Yeah.
he still is. obviously,
So
but
okay, so
at the
there's
time.
T minus, there's Boy Wonder, there's Matthew Burnett, there's Jordan Evans. You guys are all go to the same high school, Pickering High. You guys are only maybe what 4 or 5 years apart, maybe 6,
Something like that.
at
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
Between
something
4 and 6, yeah.
How does this happen where these 4 producers that are so prominent in the game today all come from this town in Ajax? Like, have you guys ever talked about it? Like, how did that happen?
Mm.
Like, it blows my mind.
I mean, we always used to have like a running joke where it's kind of just like, there's nothing else to do
Right?
in the burbs outside of, school and work.
Mm.
But like, it's so cold, like especially wintertime. It's like everybody was just inside
Yeah.
locking in. But at the same time, you can make the same argument for Brampton, for Mississauga. So why Ajax in particular?
Right.
Just divine orchestration.
But at the
I don't
same
know.
time, you look at Brampton, Mississauga, like that's like party,
The other hub, right? True.
Wonder Girl, Eastbound.
One
But
of
like
those
same school is crazy.
Yeah.
Like same city,
Same school, yeah.
but like same school. So
Same
I don't
school,
even know
same
what to-
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how to make sense of that.
I think the school thing, like I honestly, I give a lot of credit to both of them because it was literally hearing it. Like I didn't know it was a thing. So why I went to their school. You know what I mean? Like I literally remember we had another friend who made beats and it was just like Winton. It was just us and we made beats. And he brought a laptop. He brought a laptop to school and he just had the demo version of Fruity Loops. The demo version of Fruity Loops now has good sounds. You could make good music with it. But this is like, it's like a video game. This is back in, and we watched, I remember Tyler at lunch made a beat with the demo version. And we were just like, it was good. It was good. It was
Just
so
at lunch.
good. Just at lunch,
Yeah,
made a
yeah,
little beat.
Yeah.
He didn't have a keyboard. He was just clicking it in. We're in high school. And it was like, it's like some people, you kind of see like, it's like they're born to do it, And I think Tyler's one of those people. So it's like, I think because they went to that school, so there's inevitably people to see them do it and be like, oh, that's great. I want to do that too,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing, kind of when you does that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but I think a lot of it also was divinely orchestrated because I can't even make sense of that. Like Jordan putting me onto Wonder and then minus going to the same school. Because funny enough, it's like when Wonder first started working with us and like, giving us pointers and listening to our beats and vice versa, that was kind of like remotely. But like for me, T minus was the first one because of the proximity, because we went to the same school. And I would ask him questions. He'd be walking around with his drumsticks. Anybody who knows T, like he'd always have like his drumsticks in like his back pocket.
No shit.
Walking around high school. And so because of the proximity, I was able to be like, yo, like I just found out about Fruity Loops. Like I want to make beats. And like I remember one day he's like, yo, come over. Like I'll show you how to use a program. And I went over to his house after school one day and just got a masterclass in just like, yo, this is how you do this. And of course, anybody who knows T, he's just flying and like he's explaining everything, but I'm seeing in real time. I'm like, there's so much to this program. 1, but 2, this guy knows. Like I could just tell you, it's one of those anal kind of hyper focused minds where he just locks in on something and that's it. So I'm literally getting a masterclass from him. He's playing me beats and I'm just like, what am I hearing? Just like beautiful. Like to this day, some of my favorite beats in the world are beats that I heard that day.
Wow.
In high
I still
school.
remember.
Shout out to T minus and shout out to Webwood's beat. He knows about Webwood's, bro. This guy flipped the sample and I remember hearing it and like to this day, I will never forget that beat. So it's like, I say all this to say like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? We just had to make beats and then one of the best beat makers in the country just happens to be in his 5th year at high school where I can be like, yo, I want to make beats and he can say, come over to my house and let me show you how.
That's it, but it's a lot of credit to you guys as well too, because I think a lot of people will go there and be like, just like, I'll never have a chance to be as incredible as this person, but you guys were inspired to continue going down that path.
Yeah.
At what point were you like, this is everything?
That's a good question.
When I stopped growing.
This guy always said when the hoop dreams were done. That's it. Hey.
No, actually, for me, it was always a hobby until it wasn't anymore. It was like I went to school for something else. I went to school for architecture. I was in university. Like I went.
Yeah, because you if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you got 2 other siblings, so there's 3 of you.
It's 4 of us.
4 of you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's 4 of you.
Yeah,
Sorry, there's 4 of you.
Yeah.
And your mother is also a partner at a law firm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like art isn't, I mean,
Mhm.
like, you know, it's like.
Yeah, my parents are, let's say,
They're academics.
business people.
Business people,
Yeah,
academics.
business people. We music was always part of our life, like most people, but it wasn't. I didn't have the same training
Right.
that Matt had. You know, it was like a hobby. It was like a video game. That was my video game, making beats.
Interesting.
It felt that way, especially like the first software. Like it looks whatever, but like Fruity Loops looked ridiculous. Like it was like you open it, like it looks like a video game or something, like a computer game, right? But it was just fun to make music, you know. And then it's like keep doing it because you're obsessed with it, and then incremental improvement. And then there was kind of a point where we weren't good yet, but we had some good ideas. And that was when I think both Tyler and Wanda and Matt were like, oh, this is a good idea. Let me see what I can do with it. And that was our way into music.
And that gives you confidence as well too, right?
Yeah.
So then you start making your way into music, and then you start. I think Wanda signs you guys, right?
Mhm.
What was that process like?
He signed us around the time that Not Afraid came out, like that same era, because we were working a lot. So there was a lot of ideas that he was taking from us, right? And so he was obviously getting his situation and his structure together because he was obviously, producing was new for him, and then also now shepherding other producers was also a new thing for him. So it was all of us learning together, you know what I mean? Us learning how to be supportive producers, him learning how to be a leading producer responsible for other producers. But I mean, it was amazing. He was just like, we were the first two people that he ever signed.
Oh, you're
like,
the first two you ever signed?
Like out the gate, like as soon as he had his company and like knew that this is something that he wanted to do, provide opportunity for other producers to shepherd and, you know, kind of groom other producers, we were the first two. So it's like we had, you know, we were fortunate enough to be on a lot of his early records, pretty much anything that he was doing during that era, which is perfect timing because obviously Eminem happened, Drake happened, so he was getting calls. He was on everything.
He was on everything.
So by proxy, we were on everything because he was on everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a perfect start. One, obviously musically. Two, in terms of just like being able to be in rooms far beyond where we should have been or could have been on our own.
Yeah.
And then that was huge. And then also just like him being an amazing mentor. Like he's one of the best dudes I think we know. Like good heart. It's one thing to be talented, but it's another thing to be an actual good person. And so to come up under him and to learn how to navigate the business and relationships as somebody who just has a really just good intentions was really instrumental for us because it kind of just set us on our journey in terms of how we wanted to approach our own careers and how we conduct ourselves as businessmen. You know what I'm saying? So it was huge. It was huge for us.
How did without getting into too much of the details, but like obviously Boy Wonder's doing it at a massive level, right? But the structure of how you guys did that to ensuring that it continued your journey to continue to grow even afterwards. You know, because you were with him for X amount of years. Was it 3-4 years maybe?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Yeah.
But you were able to continue on your journey.
Yeah. When we started trying to figure out how we would do it, it was like I kind of think of it like a producer development deal. Yeah. And that's really what it was. It was like, yeah, you're gonna get cuts, but you're gonna be with me. You're gonna be in these rooms, and as he's learning how to be a major hit producer, we're just watching it. We're watching the process, you know. And it's like, he said to us at the beginning, he said, "I want this to be." I don't remember how he worded it, but he said, "I want this to be a stepping stone for you. So I want you guys to be able to do this. It's a short deal. It was just like it was a publishing deal, and it had a producer. What do you call it? Producer deal or something like that connected to it.
Okay.
It was like it meant to be 2-3 years, short term, easy to recoup the money, the advance, and it was like I want this to be a stepping stone for you.
Oh, so he set you guys up.
Yeah, so
the
you
best
can
way
go
possible.
forward and get. Another production deal and have that experience. For him, it's, I don't think, I think probably, he's worked with so many people. He's signed a lot of producers and writers. I don't think anyone, they would all agree that his intention is he's trying to uplift
for sure.
This community. I think that's his biggest legacy. There's all the records, but it's like almost every single producer, from Wanda Girl to Murder Beats to Tyler to all these people, 7, they can all say, like, this guy helped me get to that next level,
Yeah. So some of those records in that while you were there, so we talk about Not Afraid. How does that come about? How did that even start? Like,
You can start that. That's a good story.
That was just an idea that we started. I used to make beats at work. I was a projectionist at a movie theater.
Oh, okay.
So I used to
Like
run the
Cineplex?
movies. Yeah, Cineplex, run the movies, then just make beats.
While the movie's running?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
was back.
with the
Remember,
popcorn there?
remember the HMV listening spots?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
go in HMV. you
Yeah,
go listen to-
actually,
yeah, just literally every day. Go listen, sample the music. Probably like I don't know if it was LimeWire or like torrents or whatever. Get the music and then start ideas, and then I bring them to his house, and we make beats, and then we just send every idea to Wonder. Like, and then it was just one of the ideas that he said, "Oh, there's something here," and then he did his thing on it. That was it. That's the process.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was
Wake up one day and it's
wake up one day and it's like, yeah, you have this next single. Which was crazy because that was the first time that he ever opened up to outside production because Dre was doing everything.
and him.
And him. But
Yeah.
that was the first time he ever opened up the album to outside producers and we had the lead single.
You had the lead
Which was, like,
single.
huge. Like, it was history. And then obviously did what it did. So, but yeah, to your point, just wake up one day and you get that text and you're like, oh, cool.
When do you find out that you have that single?
I can't remember how long after
Yeah.
he flipped it, but it was, I feel like it wasn't too long.
Yeah, it was pretty
It
quick.
happened pretty quickly.
You had a lawyer already at that time?
I think I was using Wonder's lawyer because again we were signed to him, so it's like
Using
he was negotiating, like him negotiating for Wonder was as a byproduct of negotiating
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us. You know
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we were just all using the same lawyer, and like we would talk with Wonder about
Yeah.
like how we split it and everything, and then we
Yeah.
just end up on paper. So
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's insane. Yeah, and then you wake up and one
but yeah,
day.
literally it happened really really quickly. I actually have two on there, so we did Not Afraid,
Right.
and then one and I did another one called Seduction. That was on there as well. And same thing, you just wake up and it's like, yeah, so he took Not Afraid. And oh yeah, by the way, he took this one too. And at the time, like I said,
Yeah, what is that?
During those years, you're just waking up to cuts. Like you're waking up and you're just like, oh, like Weezy just like took this. Oh shit, like, you know, I got this Nicki one. Oh,
What did
this is
Weezy
just
do?
I Bill Gates.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be just so crazy.
It's, you know what I mean? So you're just waking up to like, and again, I was just having the time of my life making music because I just loved the art and the process of just making things.
Yeah.
So the cuts were just like icing on the cake to me.
Yeah.
But like, I guess we kind of got spoiled because at least for me,
So I'm saying.
Yeah.
2 to 3 years of waking up to cuts, man, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And then after that, it's like when you got to go fend for yourself,
Yeah.
it's like you realize like, no, like it's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when something is a hit, you know, like we like he was a hit producer. So there's a period where it just flows, you know.
Yeah.
So like so we kind of experienced that.
Yeah.
So then coming around with artists and having a hit artist, hit songs and hit artists. And then we kind of know, okay, there's a period where it's gonna flow. Like it's gonna come, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like cause we saw it before, so we could identify, okay, we're about to be in this wave.
In that wave.
Yeah.
And that wave was a tidal wave that you guys went into. So
It was.
a few years later, you guys come across Daniel Caesar, right?
Yeah.
When does that happen? What year is that?
Probably 2013, I think.
I think so. I think
2012.
2013.
So you guys have been making these. You guys are co-producers on these massive records. You did Pound Cake as well too, right?
Yeah, it was later. That came later, but
Yeah, that was 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of like at the tail end.
Yeah.
Of you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
That was
5
after-
records. So
No,
you have.
that was actually after.
So you're doing Pound Cake.
Yeah.
That was after.
That was after the deal. It was just like
we just
Still family.
we just wanted
Yeah.
to
Still
work.
homies wanted to
Yeah,
work,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you guys do a Drake and
Exactly.
Jay-Z record.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my favorite Drake album. Nothing Was the Same. Yeah,
I'm biased, but it might be my favorite.
I think Take Care it's Take Care for me personally.
Take Care for You.
Yeah.
I mean, both great albums.
of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Shout out to Drake.
Shout out to Drake. Okay, so then you guys coming in, you guys discovered Daniel Caesar.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah, discovering is a kind of odd
it's
word.
always
It's all, but you guys come across.
introduced.
You're introduced.
Yeah.
You're
So-
introduced to Daniel.
So a good friend and producer that we work with named Jordan Mansborough, who you're familiar with.
Shout out to Jordan.
Shout out to Jordan.
He showed me his music, and the first time he showed me his music, I didn't like it. It actually wasn't his music. I didn't like the song,
Okay.
and you have to ask him about this story because he has a different version of the story. but this is my recollection of it.
Danny?
This is on my side.
Tell your
It's on
side.
my side.
Okay.
It was another good friend. His name was Nico, and it was his song. And Manswell had asked me to mix it.
I've heard this story.
Yeah, he asked me to mix it.
Yeah.
You heard my side? Or
I've heard your
your
side.
So he asked me to mix it, and so I was mixing, and I'm kind of like halfway through the mix. I was just like, "Who's singing the chorus?" He's like, "Oh, is it this kid from?" This was, I think, before Danny Caesar.
Yeah.
Just Ashton.
Yeah.
There's this kid from Oshawa, and he was like, "No, he's a new kid that we started working with." And I kind of was just like, "You should get somebody else to sing the chorus. It didn't sound good on the song.
You said
it didn't
that.
sound good on the beat." I said that straight up. You should get someone else to sing the chorus. And he was like, "No, like trust me. Like he's good. His music is good." And then,
At first, I thought you were asking who's singing on this chorus because you're like super impressed. You're like, I need to meet this kid.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it didn't fit the record at all.
Okay.
So I'm kind of going through it. And then so he sends me his actual music. And that's when I was like, oh, okay.
While you're mixing it.
No, this was after.
After,
This was after. Yeah.
Shout out to the
I
mixes.
don't want to listen to this.
Yeah,
I don't want to listen to this.
I bet they
That's
send
why
a
I'm not
man to
mixing.
mix, and he'd be like, "Yo, like, change the man on the chorus, bro."
Yeah.
Now you're mixing engineer being like, "Yo, change the nigga on the chorus, bro." Like,
That's why I'm not a mixer. I can't keep my mouth shut. But I was feeling it. But no, he sent me his music after.
Yeah.
And it was completely different. It's like very acoustic, obviously to this day, but
Yeah.
then it was very acoustic and just a completely different thing. Yeah, I think, and then I think Manswell gets the full credit for not only introducing it to me, but like, no, like this is good. Like, trust me, sort of, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Okay.
That's how I met him.
When did you show Matthew the music? Or did you show him?
He came over to the crib and he's like, "Yo, listen to this. Like, this is a kid that I got introduced to that Mantle put me onto."
And Maui too.
And
Because
Maui.
quickly it was
Right.
Yeah.
And he pressed play, and I remember I was like, "What is this?" I feel like 2 or 3 songs that he played me, and I remember being like, immediately I knew,
Like Medulla. Bro.
yeah. But it's like immediately I knew that there was something special there because obviously he's special and his voice is special, his writing is special. But I think it also came at a perfect time for me where I needed that as well, because after Wonder, it's like, I started venturing off, and I was doing like a lot of like pop producing sessions, so. Clocking in, clocking out in LA, back and forth, just doing a lot of writing, which was cool. It was a grind.
Wasn't motivating though. Wasn't like
It was good practice.
okay.
It was like I got significantly better at songwriting and producing during that era because I was doing it all the time. It was like my 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like that. So when he played me Daniel's music, he's like, "Yo, like I think we should work with him." And I heard it. It was such a breath of fresh air in comparison to what I was doing. And also like even like all the hip hop stuff that we did with Wonder, which again I love. I'm a musician. Like I love chords. I love to play. And it's like, with the hip hop stuff, it's like, it's kind of just like you get like a catchy melody and put a bass down on it. And it's like, cool, slap some drums on it next, which is cool, but I want to be more expressive. So when he played me Daniel stuff, I was like, this feels like what I've been finally waiting for, a way for me to express myself musically as well. So I was just like, yo, I'm in 100%. Let's do it.
Okay.
So we started off just being like, yo, let's just like, we'll take it slow and just start on the music and just like kind of see how our chemistry is and see how it is making music with him and kind of see where things go from there. That's kind of where it started.
That's where it started. And you guys are in Toronto at this point.
I was still in Ajax.
Yeah,
I don't know if you moved.
Still in Ajax.
Oh yeah, I was still in Ajax.
I was still in school, I think.
You're still in school?
Yeah, at this point.
Oh, okay, because for architecture.
Yeah, so cool. And then it quit from there. It was like, take it slow. So like a year later, he was living with me. That's what I was telling you, like working downtown. He'd get off work at 3 a.m. And if he didn't set up, he was kind of like couch surfing.
Right.
If he didn't set up where he was gonna stay, it was Kayvon's house, my house, or another one of his friends' house.
Yeah.
He'd just be stuck. Because sometimes you don't hear that, you know what I mean? So we'd be asleep. It's 4 a.m.
Right.
He'd be stuck. So that was a
You just
crazy
sleep on
period.
park bench.
Right.
That was a park bench.
Yeah,
McDonald's days.
Those days.
Yeah, bro.
The infamous thing
killing
here,
time.
but yeah.
And I was still in Ajax, so there wasn't.
You can't help
I can't
it.
do shit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? But yeah.
So then he starts crashing at your place like
Yeah.
full time. He started living with you.
Yeah, there's a point where it was just like, okay,
Like, all right, bro.
because
no
I'm
more
not
park
gonna.
bench.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll set an alarm to wake up, or sometimes still awake, and then that's where we started That was Praise Break. We
Yeah.
started it there. It was like you get off work, and then we'd work from like 4 a.m. to whatever, and then we'd wake up, work a bit more, and then he'd go back to work. And it was kind of just like, in a short period of time, we had something, and then we brought it to in Ajax, the basement. That was our studio. With the red
chair,
kind of
baby.
like that, the red chair, the
Yeah.
red couch, and then that's where we just kind of like built it up, the music.
Crazy.
And that was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's 2014.
and at this point, are you guys, you and Daniel, do you know you have something special here? You three collaborating and working together, and you're saying, let's set out and work on this project together. Like, let's really figure this out. Is there a plan, or is this all happening organically?
We didn't know much. Like we just knew how to make the music. And we connected with Anthony Osei in that early process. And this is like blog
Osei.
era.
Shout out
Shout out to
Osei.
Osei, man.
Yeah.
This is blog era.
What's his name again?
Oh, wow.
Ghost-
So you still remember it.
Huh? Ghost to
Illionaire?
Shake. Osei?
He's Illionaire.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. But he's
yeah.
also Ghost to Shake.
Oh, I didn't know that's fire.
He's Ghost to Shake. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah.
You're outing all his legendary.
It's whatever
releases.
at this point. Maybe we'll keep it in there. Maybe we won't.
But this is like.
But I do remember when I said, I told
Little
Osei, he's
Boys
like,
Not Right, Complex.
yeah, he's the guy doing all that.
Yeah.
And what he explained to us is like, this is like the blog payola, like version of payola, where it's like, he said they have email threads where they all share the music. So if you can get in that email thread, it's not really payola, but you get in that email thread, they're all going to post it.
Yeah, because I remember at that time it was like 7 or 8 different
Yeah,
websites.
and they all
blogs,
mattered.
They were all posted. Yeah, they all
Yeah,
mattered at
they all
that
mattered.
time.
And it was like, and it makes sense because it was like, if you couldn't get on one, you couldn't get on one. But if you can get on one, you got on all of them.
You got on all of them.
Got on all of them. It's because they were all, just to cut down on the work, they were all like,
Just
okay, this is
sharing
what
each other,
we're
yeah.
all posting this. It's different websites. They're owned by sometimes the same people, different people, but this is just all the shit we're gonna post today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he was one of those people. So,
And shout out to Osei because like very, very low key, he's been a pillar of
so many things.
so many things
Yeah.
in the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
He's been early to everything.
Everything.
Mhm.
Everything.
He's got, in my opinion, one of the greatest ears in the business.
Mhm.
I agree.
And he's
Yeah.
got a great mind as well, too,
Yeah.
to how to market things and put things out. So shout out to him. I know
He's always in it. Too.
he's always in
You
it.
have to be, and I think that really matters.
He's always in it. Yeah.
to understand that you have to be in it.
Yeah. He's constantly,
He's
outside.
He's
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
But to be great, you have to be outside.
Yeah.
It's like part of it is like, yeah, this is a great song, but I also need to see how it's reacting.
How it's reacting.
If it's working. You know what I'm saying? Because if there's a disconnect, I want to also know why, so I can better advise the people that I am working with. So
Yeah.
We were not outside. We were just in.
Inside
we were,
cooking.
we were,
You were inside
we were
cooking.
exclusively
Yeah.
inside.
So Anthony was the person
yeah.
to do that.
Super
that-
interesting.
That part of it.
Yeah.
So
Come back. Yeah.
I think this could work, or like I'm gonna be able to get this. First EP, we got Billboard and Complex posts,
Yeah.
which is like blog. Like what's the equivalent? That would be like getting on
Today?
your first song ever, getting on R&B
Playlist.
or RBX,
RBX.
Spotify, yeah.
or rap. What's it
Rap
called?
Caviar.
Rap Caviar. That's the equivalent.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, at that
right
time.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, is it Violet?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was the first thing I ever saw because me coming from the film world, I was very enamored with Liam McRae's work.
Mm.
I was like, oh, this guy's incredible.
Mhm.
And then
Party
I saw
Next Door.
Party Next
Yeah.
Door. Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
saw he did Violet and he
Right.
was telling me, he's like, this kid's next.
Mm.
So that's how I got put onto Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I remember seeing that video and being like, the video is very different from anything I remember because it was so simple, but like it was just really shot beautifully.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing his voice. I was like, oh, this guy's,
Yeah.
he's different.
Mm.
Yeah. It's just the voice.
Yeah, the voice
Like you
was,
play for people, and I remember that he would do little shows, and I think he credits his SDA church upbringing from being very reserved, so it's not very emotive in performance, and so he do these shows where he's not like, you don't think he's doing very much. People are just crying.
yeah.
Because people they're so touched, so moved by his voice. It's like some people are just gifted with this ability to make people feel.
He really knows how to interpret a record.
Right.
Really knows how. He just it's very real.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between like a really good singer and an artist.
Right.
Like right away, like this is coming from a real place. You could feel it.
I mean, well, because everything that he wrote came from a real place.
Yeah.
It's all a personal experience. Like he's one of the people where it's like literally in between records, he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go and live and write the next chapter of my life. So it's very much so, it's like he's writing what, like it's every single word, every single lyric is connected to a memory or a person or a relationship. So it's like, of course you're gonna feel it because he's feeling it every single time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, that's, in my opinion, obviously, you know, some people would disagree, but it's like, that is, I feel like in essence, depending on obviously the goal, that's how it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some artists, of course, like, you know, it's like, they'll take songs and they'll reinterpret and they'll be able to still move. And that, I think there's power in that as well. But, you know, when you're writing something that's coming from a real place and being the one to deliver it as well, I think there's a special kind of magic and energy in that.
And the world connects to it. So it comes out on Billboard and Complex.
Right.
Everybody starts to listen to it. Or at least, you know, people who need to be listening to it start listening to it.
I wouldn't say everybody. It's just
this is like, but this is early.
Are early and they want to hear something, and then
something new, something refreshing. So you guys are now getting phone calls. People are starting to kind of ask what's the situation here?
A bit maybe, but
I wouldn't say it wasn't like for example, from the outside looking in, the hype that it looked like around Jessie when she started.
Right.
To me, right? It was more like it was very underground. It was very, because it didn't make the type of music that it was very alternative, so it didn't make sense to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there was a small group of people who they really liked it, and then our whole thinking was like, if we could get a couple hundred people in a room, that's where it would start. So that was the first thing, and then go from there to just kind of doubling those numbers.
Mod Club.
Yeah. So the first one, that's the first,
very first show, right?
for sure.
Yeah, but we did East Room first.
East Room.
So we did East Room first, which was
no shit.
Friends and family.
Yeah.
We were one of the first people to do, you know, that trend in Toronto.
Yeah.
You always do a friends and family show before you do. I don't know if we might have got that from somebody.
I can't remember.
I don't think we ever did a friends and family. We saved Toronto last because we wanted to perfect the show. By the time we got to Toronto, we wanted it so dialed in. So, because we were always like, and I'm referring to when I was working with Jessie, we always were like, yo, if you can get applauded in Toronto, you're good anywhere.
Right.
Right. And it's like, and these are like the most, not fickle fans, but like the most like specific group of people. Like, you're almost like, they're like, kind of waiting to be disappointed almost, you know, sometimes. So used to it. Yeah. So like we wanted to dial it in. So we never did a friends and family, but we did showcases before anybody knew of her. But yeah, when we did Kiddo Tour, we came here like after the 12th or 13th show. By that point, it's like, she was so dumb.
I mean, it was also like, you know, friends, it was also like very small, intimate. You know what I mean? It's also a way to kind of like get out the nerves a little bit.
Of course.
Before you go and all of a sudden debut it to, you know, Toronto at large. You know what
I'm
saying?
Yeah.
It was always tailored around like releasing a project. We do like a little small listening or a little performance or something of the sort. And that was the first time that we actually met his parents. Yeah. Which was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
Because at first they were apprehensive about
for sure
religious. So, you know, making secular music and his Norwell, his dad is and was a recording artist as well. So there's the kind of everyone has the horror stories in the industry. Yeah. Because it's a cutthroat industry.
Which is fair. Like
they're
not entirely wrong.
So I think they had that, like you said, fair preconceptions about going into music.
Yeah.
But then I think there was just a certain point when probably a combination of his success, the growing success, but also his parents just putting the reasonable sort of fear of the industry aside and saying, this is what he's chosen. This is who he is. This is his path. And then it was just acceptance from there.
I think a lot of it also had to do with because the way that we structured the Daniel Caesar business, it was a family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that really helped as well, is meeting his parents and them kind of being like, okay, well, I don't know who these guys are, but like, I'm gonna keep an eye on you, but like kind of let's see. And then over time, obviously to his point, a combination of success, but also them being like, okay, well, he still feels like my son. And like, I don't see him changing. And I'm seeing these guys, and they're being consistent. And they seem like good dudes. Every single time I talk to them, whatever, it's been years at this point. And it's just like, you know what? Like, I feel like I could trust you with my son. I feel like we got to that point eventually.
Yeah.
And then we just became family. Like, we call his parents mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a time where it's just, okay, we're now adopting you guys. If you guys are going to be around our son like this and be responsible for him, we're now responsible for you. And that was a huge moment for all of us. It felt like a serendipitous kind of coming home moment. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was important for us, and also really important for him, most importantly.
And that's interesting too, that because so if we're going praise break, he doesn't have a manager, right? You guys are kind of operating as
like we
loosely.
We kind of just filled in the role. We always
to
said,
manage. Like
at that time.
Well, I mean, there was like some emails coming in, like certain things that are necessary, that are out of producers' scope. But like, we had the knowledge, so we're kind of just like, we'll just like, it's easy. We'll just answer this email and kind of keep it moving.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, at that time, it's like, okay, music videos matter. It's like, okay, we got to shoot a music video. Who's the person having the conversation for that?
Right.
Is it you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Artwork.
That's
you guys.
Yeah.
So y'all were managing without having the title of manager, basically.
I think we just didn't want to call.
You didn't want to call yourselves managers.
That's what it is, because we weren't managers. We were producers.
Sleazy motherfucker.
So we're just like, we're not managers. Like, we always said we're gonna bring in a real manager.
A real manager.
That was always the plan.
That was always the plan.
We will just stretch out this period until we find the right person.
Yeah.
And then we will hand the keys over to the person. Yeah. We will be in charge of all the creative and the music, and this person will run the business, and that is going to be that. That was the plan.
And then there was conversations over the years of like, okay, what about this person? And he would be like, nah.
He would meet with them. You guys would meet with them, and then
yes, or informally.
Yeah.
Informally, we knew the people who we were all sort of considering. Okay, like what about maybe this person could do it, and then there was kind of a point where, like a few in a row, like established, respected managers who they didn't know we were thinking of maybe they could help us or maybe they could manage. If we mentioned, we don't have a manager yet, we're still thinking about management, they would be like, well, I thought you were the manager.
Right.
We're like, no, we're not managing.
Right.
You're already doing it.
They would tell you.
You're already doing it. Just keep doing it. You know, like we had a good conversation with Jason Murray, and he was just like,
Jason Murray.
Yeah, he was just like, you did the hard part already.
Yeah. You
got people to care about. That's the hard part. Now it's just, you got to be competent, get help when you need help, but so we had a few conversations like that. So that combined with Daniel just not wanting other people. Just like, I know.
Yeah.
Why do we need that?
Yeah.
Right.
We have, by this point, it's different periods where the team was really tight. It's Anthony, Liam, Kim, Marco, Liam and Marco early, Kayvon and Sean came in halfway through the process. Kayvon was actually always in the team, but Jamie halfway through maybe. So it's a tight team. Yeah. Right? So it was like that, like, okay, getting the help when you need it, adding those layers when you need it. But that's how we approached it.
And I think we also, Jordan and I are very objective people.
Yeah.
So like, we never also wanted to get in the way of the progress. And so we always said, okay, well, we don't want to put a ceiling on this. So if we feel like we are in a position where we're holding this thing back, we don't want to. Like, ultimately, what's most important is...
I remember you guys saying that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I remember you guys saying that all the time.
So that's why, as producers, we were just like, well, we're not real managers. So it's like, we don't want to put a ceiling on this because of just inexperience and just like ignorance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then to his point, a combination of Daniel being like, well, no, like, we're doing something and like it's working. So why would we switch it up? And then guys like Jason being like, you guys got it. Just like trust yourselves. We were kind of just like, all right, cool. So then we changed our approach and said, well, we're going to take this as far as we can until we feel like we hit a ceiling. And then once that day comes, then we'll go and have a different conversation or bring somebody else in for help.
Right.
And like, luckily that day just never came.
And I think Daniel gets a lot of credit for sticking and staying independent and committing to that.
True.
Because even going through, that experience where we have a hit, everyone wants to sign us.
Yeah.
Taking every single meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single meeting is it's weighing on him. And then we kind of had one last meeting. It was the Rock Nation meeting. If you remember. Mm-hmm. And it was a good meeting. And we were in there, and they were asking us, how did you build this? How did you get to this point? Because by this point, we had done shows, we had merch, and we had these things, right? We had the streaming relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we explained our process and how we leveraged all of the grants. And we had a bit more back then, we were just talking about Much Fact and things that we had. And like the first album was made with Factor and Much Fact and OAC, so we explained this process. And one of the A&Rs in the meeting, he's kind of just like, that sounds like you guys got what you need. He was like,
all right.
He said in a meeting trying to convince us to work with them that you don't need us.
Yeah.
We had that moment. It was after
he had that.
It was just honest. I love him for that. It was just an honest.
Who
was that?
Very often.
It was Ty.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's a real one.
He was like, oh, that sounds a lot like kind of how we built it independently. We just use different money.
It's true.
But we use different investment. But that's what he was explaining. He was like, oh, that sounds familiar. You guys just use grant funding.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, it sounds like you guys got what you need.
Yeah.
And we were all just like, I guess we do. Why,
What are we
doing here?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, Ashton was
shout out to Ty, by the way, man.
Yeah.
He was
solid,
solid dude. Always been solid. When we were going through, because it's crazy, our bidding wars were happening at the same time as your bidding war.
And we'd have our like monthly or whatever check-in.
How's that meeting with? How's that? It's good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We was all taking notes, and because it was you two and Danny, and it was Byron Wilson, Jessie, and myself, and we were going through these meetings.
Yeah.
I remember, and we had the meeting with Rock Nation and Ty, still to this day, man, he's the homie. He owed me a rematch in Domino's, by the way. But I remember when we made the decision, because we ended up going with a major label, and when we made that decision, we called, but Jessie led the call on the labels that were at the end there, but that we didn't decide to go with. We called them first, and we said, appreciate everything that you guys have done, but we're decided to go somewhere else. It felt like for us, that was the thing that we felt like we needed to do because people were working so hard to get our business. And I remember
it's very like Canadian of
it's very nice. It was very polite.
I love that.
It's very polite. Yeah, it was very Canadian. But Ty, I remember he was like running on a treadmill, and we had him on a speaker, and he just like, and then he stops running. He's like, Jessie, that's why I fuck with you. He's like, nobody makes these phone calls. Right, he's like, you're good in our books forever. Yeah, like you ain't never got to slow with anything to do with Rock Nation.
Awesome.
We're fucking with you guys forever.
Yeah.
True to his word, man.
Wow.
He's always been there.
Yeah, I love that.
He's good people. Yeah, in that sense. But you guys, so we're going through that at the same time as you guys.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Danny because he's saying, no, we can do this.
Yeah, there was kind of two things that happened. It was, we did all the meetings. And we were all kind of feeling the same thing. And then I think it was just after one of our meetings where Danny was just like, I'm not really feeling it,
Yeah.
And then Apple Music happened. That's, so like timing.
Walk us through.
Talk about timing being so crucial. Apple Music was a new streaming service that had unlimited funding and is competing with Goliath, Spotify, who's been established for years. They just started, right? So they said, okay, how can we? And their approach was different. They didn't want it to be as algorithmic. It was about curation for Apple Music. So that what people who work there explained to us is like, because that's a priority, they want to make a more of a curated experience. They want to show fans, we think you should listen to this artist, not just take the algorithm from like other things and say, okay, we're going to put this here because of up and down, kind of like the stock market. That's what algorithms kind of feel like, right? And Apple was more curated. And what they wanted to show was that they can, through their curation process, they can promote an artist to become successful. They wanted to prove that. So they did it with, I think the first artists were like Bryson Tiller was one of the first ones where they really got
and Black. Yeah.
And Black, right?
Yeah.
These are major label artists. So what they explained to us was why. So it was like, why do you care so much about? It felt like they were invested in Daniel's success
Yeah.
without any actual investment, no money, no anything like that, right?
And for context, this is 2016.
2016.
This is before
This is Get You.
Instagram Reels, TikTok.
this is Get You.
Correct. Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Get You
Yeah,
that comes
yeah.
out.
So it's
Because
still it's
not even best part. This is Get You.
No, it's at the end of SoundCloud era.
Yes.
Going into streaming. Streaming was
Yeah.
probably still iTunes at this.
Yeah. That was. I mean, the digital downloads were happening a lot at that
Exactly.
point. Even at that point. Yeah.
And what they explained to us was, if we make a like Black or Bryson, if we help that artist be successful, all the credit goes to the label.
major label.
It's a label. And no one ever considers us a label because they go, you just don't have a label. It's like, no, we are a label. But it's like, no, they just think, oh, you're unsigned, as if you're automatically supposed to be signed.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, because
No, but that's an important note, which
Yeah.
we'll get back to. Yeah.
so they explain that Apple Music can take more credit for helping Daniel Caesar be successful. And so when they looked at it, they said, so you already have this groundswell. You've already done these shows on your own. You have music that's starting to go. Let's see if we can help it.
Yeah.
And so what they explained to us, they said, the most we could do, this is curated, but we still have to go based on the reaction. So if we put a song in front of the fans, they don't like it, we have to move to the next song.
Sure.
Right? And people love to Get You. So
Yeah.
that was the one. That was the kind of experiment song. But it came at the expense of Spotify support.
Right.
So Spotify said he's an Apple artist.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any Spotify support at all. And remember, Spotify is Spotify.
Massive at that
They've
time.
always, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, we have to really invest in this relationship because it's all we have. It's the only one, right? So, but people really like to Get You. So it just kept on going. But it was interesting because because it's pre TikTok and Reels and all this. It wasn't viral. Daniel Caesar's never gone viral for music. I don't think so because we could see the trends,
I'd
right?
argue that.
It's like for us, from our perspective, it's just
So steady, slow burn.
for a year and a half. From
Yeah.
2016 when we released it,
Yeah.
it's kind of it was just that.
There was never this crazy
There
moment.
was never a
Yeah.
big loud peak. It
Right.
was just every week there would be someone else that would post it, and then it would start to just the momentum,
Yeah.
and it just didn't stop
Yeah. Yeah.
until the album came a year later.
I remember the moment where it was like, this is massive, is when you guys announced the tour and went on sale. And I remember you were putting up tweets, this place sold out, this place sold out. And it was like all within 24 hours. I was like,
Yeah, I'll just went.
yo. And you guys did 5 at the Danforth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was like you put up the first, put up the second, I was like, oh, these guys are out of here. This is crazy.
Mhm.
Like,
But that was like the closest thing that you got to being viral in
Yeah.
terms of like there was
that was
no,
like the viral moment.
Yeah, it's
But
like
that
it's
was
like
a year and a half later, because it was after the album.
It was a year later
So it would have
A
been.
year after the album came out?
So I'm saying that's
from when the moment you just
from
described.
Get You.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like that felt, but it was a steady sort of climb to that. So a year and a half later, we were having those moments where it was just like it was that big.
But even so, like going back to like the independent side of things, because a lot of people I think would use the case study of, no pun intended, of Matthew, Jordan, Danny, and saying if they can do it independently, and even Chance and Pat at that time,
Yeah, shout
they
out
were
to them.
massive. They were the
they were
leaders
huge.
in that.
Right.
But like
And just-
a lot of people, I think, got the ideas like, well, yeah, they can do it. Anybody can do it and get to that level of success. But I don't think people realize how much fucking work
They have no idea.
Yeah.
that takes to be at that level.
Right.
Right. And it's not to say that you can't do it. You can, because, at that point,
Mhm.
the business is completely democratized. You upload a record, it's $9.99 to put it up on an aggregator through TuneCore or CD Baby or whatever, and it gets on every single DSP.
Right.
But there's so much more to it than that, right? You guys are actually a record label, but you're just an independent record label at this point.
Mhm.
And there's different pieces to this. Talk about those pieces that you guys had to build. And even if you can, and if you don't mind sharing, it's like, how did you structure the business for like somebody that's coming up? Like, what's the best way to structure it for people that are coming up to make sure that they have, a fair share in this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to start, I think a lot of the conversations that I had with other managers during our time, because obviously, we were independent and we, shouted from the rooftops.
I've never heard him so soft spoken in my life. By the way, all of a sudden he got like the
It's
most soft
sexy.
spoken. Yeah, it's
Sexy,
just,
very white.
it's the lights and
man,
everything. Yeah,
independence
it's
is
just,
sexy, bro. What can I say? But I feel like a lot of the conversations I was having with them was being like, yeah, like people hear independence, but it's such a wide term, it's such a broad term.
Right.
There's levels to independence. Like,
go through the levels.
you could be an independent artist signed to an independent label that has support through distribution. You can be
Through a major distribution.
through a major,
Yeah.
or even just like an indie.
Yeah.
There's like also companies like AWOL, where it's just like that offer you major label services or artist services,
Yeah.
label services, where it's just like, yeah, you're independent, like you own your music, but it's like you're not quite like ground level independence, as I call it. Which again, and there's no right or wrong. I think you have to do whatever's best for yourself and for your business and for your team. We were like TuneCore level independence.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, there's no artist services or label services. We are the label. So literally, you talk about pieces. It's like, okay, we're managing. We're also making the music, which technically you don't have to do if you're independent. You can have a producer, but we happen to be producers first. So we're managing. So we're making the music. We're managing. Jordan's handling marketing and promotion. We have a creative team that handles all the creative assets, videos, everything's in-house.
That's Sean Brown and Kayvon.
Sean Brown, Kayvon, and then
Yeah.
earlier was Liam.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. And then when it comes time to releasing, setting it up, teeing it up, making sure all the DSPs get it, then hitting the DSPs to make sure that, like our people there, our point people there to make sure that they know that the music is coming so we can activate. It's like, yeah, we're uploading and then we're messaging everybody individually being like, hey, we just uploaded it. Do you see it in the system? Do you have it, and with enough time to really activate within the company? All those things we're doing literally.
Well, when
ourselves.
you're saying you're messaging people individually, you're messaging your partners at Apple, your partners at,
and then later on at Spotify, people who
Spotify.
were just like, yo, we're invested at this point.
Yeah.
We're invested at this point. Please let us know when new music is coming. And so we're maintaining those relationships ourselves at the labels. Like, they talk to those people every single day. You just say, here's the song. They take care of everything else. With us, it's like we're handling the label side and then also the creative side and the musical side. We're also managing down to, okay, it's time for live performance. We're also managing his touring business. I'm putting together the shows. Jordan's doing the
Yep.
creative for the shows. Like, literally every single part and every single facet of Daniel Caesar's career and business, we all collectively were doing. Mind you, we're all talking about everything. So it's not like, we're taking the range of doing what we want. It's like everything is communal. We're all talking about all decisions, touring, what cities to do, what does the poster look like, no, that font's too small, make it bigger, they can't see that, X, Y, Z. Everything is being discussed. It's just like we would all, depending on what it was, be the person leading the conversation or the face of that part of the business.
how involved is Daniel in these conversations?
He's at the heart of every single one.
Yeah.
And I
Because he
think-
says yes or no.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, we think we should do it. No, that doesn't feel right. And again, to Jordan's point earlier, it's just like his gut was almost never wrong. You know what I mean? It was him who was just like, we have such an interesting team. And again, I say all this to say, it's like, if you're going to be ground level independence, you have to have a team like how we had. Because think about it, if you don't have the support of an indie label or a company like an AWOL or a major, who's going to be doing those things? And so that's why I don't ever really fault an artist for doing business that makes the most sense for them. Even if it's a shitty deal, unfortunately, it's like, if that is what got you to the next deal that you were able to make, that was better business for you,
Yeah.
then you had to do that. Otherwise, imagine saying no to a deal because it isn't the greatest, but you have no team to do anything else. What, you can't release music? Doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So a lot of people felt that we were also anti-major label.
Right.
And we, to be clear, we weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we feel like there are issues, at least myself. I feel like there are issues.
Oh
and
man,
holes
I could
in
tell
the
you
major
all
label
about
system.
all the fucking issues.
100%. I will not shy away from saying that, but at the same time, I understand that it's necessary for certain artists that don't have a team like how we built
Yeah.
to be able to do things the right way as we saw it ourselves. And I think it also became, like, you kind of hit a point where we had the luxury of having a hit going into a lot of the meetings that we went into in terms of labels wanting to sign us. Not every artist has that.
Yes.
So because of that, we were already making
Bang.
money.
Yeah.
So we
So
so
you
have
can
to
re-
also do like a little calculation and say, okay, offers are coming in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it hits a point where it's like, it's bad business. Like, why would I lose money
Yeah.
to sign to you
Yeah.
to do something that we're already doing? So it's like, it has to also make sense dollars and cents wise. So once we started seeing the money that was coming in, that would typically go to the label that artists wouldn't see, you would see it on your accounting statements, and you'd see a little piece that you get unrecouped, essentially. Once we started to see the amount of money that was coming in, that would typically just go to a label. We
had the same thing.
We were like, wait, like, why would we sign again?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what you're offering us to sign, we're going to make in 6 months. And then I'm going to keep making.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I make this back in 6 months and then you get your piece off of this one? We're already getting it. So we had to have a lot of conversations. So it was a combination of Daniel being like, I don't think this makes sense. I trust our team. Our team is so rare. Not many artists have this. Let's bet on ourselves was literally the exact words that he said. Let's bet on ourselves. And then it was also like Apple support coming in. And then we're already making money. And us being like, well, let's actually look at the numbers. Being like, this doesn't also make business sense for us.
Yeah.
It'd be bad business for us doing this. So why would we do it?
Yeah.
It was everything collectively. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was kind of like the perfect storm as to why we continue to kind of push through and do things our way. But I just wanted to clear that up. It's like, I think artists have to do what's best for themselves. We obviously believe in pro ownership. So I believe every artist should own the music and own what they're creating.
That's more than anything else. And I'm happy that you cleared that up, because I do remember you guys never saying that. I mean, you never said, like, we hate the labels. You guys just said
that wasn't our rhetoric at all.
For us, is we have seen the value that we bring to the table. We love ownership. We're going to take this as far as we possibly can, because we have the proper infrastructure to actually take this to the levels that we feel, because we're seeing it in real time.
Yeah.
Plus, we're making revenues that are real, and we can reinvest the revenues back into the project.
Correct.
And the priority is Daniel Caesar. The priority isn't 70 other artists on a major record label, which you can get lost in that sauce real fast. Right? So I'm happy that you cleared that up, because it was never that. It was never anti-label. As a matter of fact, how could you be anti-label when your biggest record, you started a label, but then your biggest record was with an artist who was on RCA with her, Gabby, best part. You need,
although,
okay.
We worked the fuck out of that record.
Well, okay, so that's a question I had.
The irony is, we worked that record. RCA, shout out to RCA though. We worked
okay, I had that question.
RCA was just like, okay, cool. And shout out to Jeff Robinson, because Jeff Robinson obviously allowed us to share in that record.
Yeah. He was an amazing support, and he was really our biggest advocate, because RCA was on some like, okay, who are these little timers?
Oh wait, Jeff Robinson,
who used to manage
her?
He was very like instrumental in telling the label like, no, like let
you
these
should
guys
explain. You should explain how we share it too. Like, it's rare.
It is rare. So even that in itself. So after the record was made between Daniel and her, we weren't really sure like where it was gonna live. They kind of just made the record.
Yeah.
But we were finishing up Freudian at the time. We were in the process of like last chapter. And I remember I was in LA, Jordan was home. Shout out to Tunji. Tunji set up the session.
A real one.
Talk about ears, like one of the best ears.
One of the best ears of all time. Tunji's now CEO of Def Jam.
Yeah, amazing.
President.
So shout out to Tunji. Yeah. He set up that session, and we had always wanted to work with her because Anthony put us onto her.
Crazy. It was Anthony as well.
Shout out to Anthony.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? He put us onto her. I did not know. We were in New York, I think, around the time we were doing SOBs, and we just had her Volume 1 on repeat, like religiously. Yep. So we were already fans. So the session got set up. Went there, did the record. Even how that happened was crazy. It was actually going to be Daniel, her, and Camper. Shout out to Camper. But Camper came to the session, but he had to leave early to go back to the session that he previously had come from. So Danny started playing the chords for best part. They kind of started mumbling a couple things. Camper came in, they started something else, but then Camper had to leave. And it was actually her who said, hey, can we go back to those chords that you first started playing, Daniel? He went back to the chords, and at that point, Jeff and I felt like, we should probably leave the room. So we left the room. We were in the lounge, and I want to say it was like 5:30 in the morning. Half of us are like me, Natalie, who managed Camper, and then also Jeff are like half sleeping in the lounge. And they walk in, Danny and her walk in. They're like, hey, we think we have something. Can you come listen? So we stumble in there. Everybody's half tired, and they press play on best part. And I remember being like, okay, interesting. And it was Jeff who called it right away. He's like, this is going to be a very important record. He's like, this is going to be the next duet of the next decade.
Wow, he said that in the room?
Oh, bro, he called it early. So then I got the bounce, I sent it to Jordan. I knock out. I wake up to like 20 text messages and like 10 calls from this nigga. And he's just like, yo, bro, are you crazy? Bro, what am I hearing? Bro, this is crazy, bro. We need this. We need this for the record. We don't have a moment like this on the record. We need this. Like this completes it. Bro, are you crazy? Call me. Answer. Please answer your phone, Matthew.
That is a
The album is not coming out without best part.
that is not a producer talk. That is a manager talking right now.
He's just such a bully. He has a mixer. He'd be like, yo, this record.
Oh, that's the mixer again.
So literally, I'm just like, okay, so we talk about it. I'm just
Like, well, I don't even know if she wants to use it. So I try to get a hold of Jeff. And Jeff knew what I wanted. So he ducked me. That man, he ducked me for like 2 weeks. I was
Because
chasing that
everyone
man.
knows, you hear it right away. Everyone knew what that
Right.
song is.
So hold on. So then that record at that point in time is for Gabby. Her.
It was kind
It's
of
for
undecided, but like, it was her session. So like, Chucky set up the session, but it was for her. And like, he just brought Danny in.
So now Jeff knows what he has.
to make a song. So
Okay.
Jeff obviously knows, smart man. He also has a great ear. Shout out to Jeff. Obviously, I got one. But like, I don't know if they necessarily had plans in terms of what it would be used for. So I spent 2 weeks chasing that man, calling, texting. Jeff, I called you. Oh, my bad. I was busy. Jeff, can you call me back? I call him, hit you tomorrow. No call. Jeff, I need to talk to you.
Finally,
And he's very responsive otherwise.
Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Like, we're he's sending me like IG videos, but it's like he just would not take my call. So finally he accepted my phone call. And I said, Jeff, and he said, what can I do for you? And I said, I need the song. I was like, I need the song. And like Jeff and I had a really good relationship.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Very
Why
much.
did you make the call and not Jordan make the call?
Jeff, I was like his little bro. Like, he,
Oh, were you?
I didn't
Okay.
have to say
Yeah,
that.
like
So
in
you
that,
knew.
in that session we bonded and like, you know, we really hit it off. And he's like, yo, like I like your
That's
energy. You know what I'm saying?
That's also important as well too. Having two managers, I think, is like super clutch
It's
because
crucial.
We know who is the right person. Because as
to
you can
communicate.
tell,
Yeah.
we're very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know who's the right person.
I always used to say Bernie was like Byron, and,
Mhm.
and Jordan
For sure.
was like, we
100%.
would always say that. Be like, we were it's kind of the same.
100%.
But what's interesting is like when you have two, you could do the good cop, bad cop thing.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it changes. Like
It does change.
it
Oh,
will
yeah,
always
for sure,
change who's-
for sure.
who's the good cop.
It does change.
Yeah.
for sure all the time.
Yeah.
Except more
Remember.
times it's probably the bad cop over here.
You'd be surprised. The
Yeah,
good
I'd be
cops.
surprised.
Really?
It's kind of 50-50.
Yeah?
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
You think, okay, this personality, this is a Jordan conversation, or this personality is definitely
sure.
a Matt conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
And I feel like certain things irritate us more or
Yes.
less. Just like certain things, he may be like, bro,
I can't talk to this
it's not
guy.
that
I
big of
gotta-
a deal. And I'll be like, bro, you crazy? Like that's
Right.
No, like
Yeah.
you gotta like XYZ ABC. You know what I'm saying? And the other things he'd be like, yo, we can't let that slide, and I'd be more passive. So in terms of who's good cop, bad cop,
For
depends
sure.
on also who cares about
who
that
got
thing.
triggered
Yeah, real shit.
by the singer.
Depends on who got triggered
By
and
the
how
thing.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much? You know what I mean?
Okay, so you called Jess. So
So
you're
I called
telling
Jeff,
him.
finally got him on the phone. I said, I need the song. He laughs. And he's just like, I know. And I said, that's what you've been ducking me. And
Oh,
he's
you
just
told
like,
him straight, flat out.
Well, Jeff and I had that relationship.
We were cool, yeah.
We could just talk straight. So I said, I need the song. And he's just like, well,
It's a desperation.
oh, bro, I was so desperate. I'm just like, please, like, I need the song. Like, I want
Just
to
said,
put it on the
please.
record. And he was
Went
just
into your
like, okay,
Canadian
well,
bag. It's like, please.
legit. And he was kind of just like, okay, well, we also want to put it out. So what does that look like? And I was like, well, we had some thoughts on this. And Jordan and I had obviously game time before.
For
We
sure.
talk about everything. I was like, what if, we put it out first? I was like, hear me out. We put it out first. We share in the record 50-50. So we share in the master, 50% Golden Child, 50% RCA. And then when you guys are ready, we use the same version, or you could reproduce or whatever you want, and then it comes out on H.E.R's record later on. I said, win-win. The profit from ours, we share with you. Profit from yours, you share with us. Match made in heaven. And he was kind of just like, interesting. He's like, okay. He's like, you're lucky I like you. He's like, you're lucky you're my little bro. He's like, 'cause I wouldn't say yes to anybody else if it wasn't for you.
Right.
I thought, okay. So I'm like, does this mean that I have it? So he was kind of just like, you know what? You guys can produce it. Produce it down and then send it to me. We'll take it from there. So Jordan and I produced it, sent it over. They loved it. And he was kind of just like, don't worry about RCA. Let me handle them. I'll talk to them. Because half the battle is like him saying yes, but
The other
RCA
half-
is not going to necessarily want to share the match with anybody, especially
Two kids.
Up
Yeah,
and
up and coming,
as-
yeah.
as
No
for
label
them,
to them, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
No
Like,
label.
we're just these little cute
You also
cute
turn down.
Canadians.
You also turn down a record
Oh,
deal
yeah.
offer from
Forgot
them.
about that
you know,
shit.
Like
so
6 months prior.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was no incentive for them to say yes to that. But Jeff was just like, let me have these conversations. I'll take care of it and I'll get it done. And he did. He told them this is like, it wasn't a conversation. It's like, this is what we're doing. We're sharing it 50-50. We're going to respect them, what they want to do. And we're going to let them do what they do. And I was just like, okay, amazing. And so that's literally how the record came about. We dropped it. And I say all this to say, like, we worked the shit out of that record. And Jeff was very supportive. Anything we needed from Jeff and from her and from the label, he's just like, yo, you got it.
Yeah,
And
they
he
did
was-
everything.
Bro,
Yeah.
like we did everything. We promoted the shit.
Everything
out of
we
that record
asked.
for
We
like
shot a
year.
music video, didn't like it. Shot another
Oh,
music
you did?
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shot 2 videos. Like,
You
yeah.
shot 2 videos before you came to us?
Yeah.
Sons of
No, we
bitches.
shot one. We shot one. We shot one.
Did you
Yeah.
like the video that we did?
The video.
The video? Yeah, yeah.
Of course, that's
By
a
the way,
classic. That's a
It's
classic.
a classic.
Yeah.
By the way, can I have a plaque for that video? Yeah.
A video plaque.
Yeah.
What do you want to say on the plaque?
It happens all the time.
You can say whatever you want to say.
Please.
Period.
Mauricio Ruiz.
Send
I
the
get one from
design.
Mauricio Ruiz, Mad Rock.
Send the design.
Yeah.
Something like,
We'll pass it through.
yeah, we get plaques all the time. I used to see Director
We
X
should do
and
video
Taj.
plaques. That's cool.
Director
That's
X and Taj had all
What does the plaque
kinds
say?
of
Is
videos.
Which
it
makes
for
sense,
the
actually.
record
Which
or is
makes
it
sense.
for
Promotion.
performance of video? What does it just say? Or is it just like the plaque?
It's just a plaque that you
Oh,
guys have,
yeah,
and,
and
then
it-
it just says to Mauricio Ruiz or to Mad Rock or whatever, you know.
That's
cool.
cool. I like that.
That's cool.
Can we do that?
You can do that.
Sick. All right,
That's
all
right.
right.
When's your
He's like, I'm gonna ask you guys on the
I set this-
spot.
I set this whole thing up
That's what this is
just
for.
to get a plaque.
I got proof.
That's the only reason why I did this is just to
It's
get
like
this.
5 cameras.
Yeah, fine.
Every angle.
7 years later, you know. To be honest with you, it was like Kayvon and Sean really took the and Eva produced
Yeah.
the shit out of
Shout out
that
to
video.
Eva,
Shout out to
yeah,
Eva
yeah.
G. Really produced the shit out of that video, like incredible video.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you guys shot a first video
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
our first one. We shot it was a shot on iPhone. We were
Mm.
trying to do that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard to make something.
Yeah.
That's hard. you know?
Yeah.
It's
Especially
like it's
at that
shot
time.
on iPhone, yeah, especially at that time. Different iPhones back then.
Yeah.
They say shot on iPhone, but you don't say that there's all these other things around it to make,
To make
To
it.
make it,
it-
right.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
and post and all that stuff. But
Yeah. So I was curious about that. Not the plaque. We sorted that out.
Sorted.
Yeah.
I'll pay for mine too as well. Don't worry. I'll take care of the bill. The level of promotion, I always thought about that and I was like, how much did RCA come through? But you're saying no, it was you guys really went to work
Yeah.
with that.
because I think
And let's just keep it a buck. Like,
Yeah.
like you guys
that was
that was you guys.
That was us
Yeah.
leading the charge, and Jeff being like, leave them alone, let them do what they do.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because again, he's like, yo, you guys are doing something that's working already. You guys have rolling steam, and it's like, you guys take the lead on this, and like do what you got to do, and whatever support you need, I'm here.
So what did that look like? Like, if you can remember, like what the strategy was, and like how did you lead it out, like with the partners? Like, if you can go into some of the details, because I think that'd be super helpful.
Yeah, sure. We broke so much ground with Get You that it was Get You was like I remember going into we had radio meetings. So by this point, to build on what you said about building out the team, Get You starts to work. That's when we add publicist. That's when we add independent radio. And this was before. This was it was R&B music was on adult R&B.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get it on Rhythmic. You couldn't get it on these stations. So we would go and play Get You. It was already getting some traction. And the radio programmers would always say, beautiful song. It doesn't fit. Doesn't fit our programming. So, and then Redbone happened, Childish Gambino. And they did something inventive. They did something groundbreaking where they had the same thing where when they came to radio, they said, no, this doesn't fit our programming, like Rhythmic or anything like that. So they started it at adult R&B, number one, and then they crossed over.
Right.
So that's when we said, okay, let's try to do that. So we have radio, and we ended up with a number one with that song. So we broke ground in radio. We had a publicist starting to make, it's like Anthony is like underground publicist. He's doing
Street publicist.
street. That's a good like street
Street
publicist,
Street
right?
publicist,
which
yeah.
is so important.
Super important.
And then you have
especially in this space.
yeah, exactly. And then we had Felicia, and that was like, okay, now we're getting the message out, and we're bringing in different opportunities, right? And then we're building on our relationships with streaming with one hit.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of it is when you go to streaming and you say, okay, what's next?
Right.
Or you have an album coming now, Get You, great song, that came out a year ago. What's the focus track? What are we gonna push? So we knew it was best part. So it was like, okay, now we got to shoot a video. We have to do everything in preparation for this song being the song. So all of the focus around his debut album with a hot single already was like, now let's make it about Best Part.
Right.
And then just every single opportunity that came in was Best
Part. You just completely shifted the focus on the
TV,
one record.
TV opportunity. You start to get hot. Your publicist has relationships with TV. So now now you get to do, I don't remember those first ones were. It's like Corden we did.
Jules Holland.
Jules Holland.
That was a big one too.
But every opportunity was, it's Best Part. Everything is Best Part.
Yeah.
Complete focus.
Coachella, then Coachella happened, which was perfect timing. So we brought her out. We did Best Part together there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, to his point, it's just like just activating. And once you switch focus, because we were already hot, the album was connecting. It was just like the floodgates opened up. You know
Are you splitting the costs with RCA?
Right. So
technically,
it's a 50-50 deal.
Yeah.
So we paid for radio.
You guys did.
We paid for radio.
They never paid.
No, I don't know if they ever.
I guess
paid
technically on the bus, like you deducted from.
Yeah.
But I mean,
expenses
our
you shared
investment.
net.
How much are you paying the radio?
200, give or take.
What did it? 200,000.
Probably, give or take.
When it was all said and done, how much are you starting with?
Half, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So
It's like putting that, saying this is going to be, and then you pay, of course, based on
performance.
Yeah.
syndication.
Yep.
And number one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's like a bonus for the promoter.
Right.
You know? And one thing that they explained to us.
Who's they?
Are independent radio promoters. So people that you hire, like a publicist you hire to get print and TV.
Did you do it with Mike Cajulas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike's
Mike.
solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing Mike explained to me was, part of the reason why it's so difficult for independent artists is because, you might have one song that you bring to them with a lot of money and say, I have the whole budget to be able to do this. And you're bringing to the radio programmers.
Yeah.
But they're getting that same song weekly,
Exactly.
week over week from Universal, from Warner, so you just have to think like, you're not going to be a priority to them,
Right.
unless culturally it matters. And then we got into that place where it started to matter culturally. So I remember having a conversation we're getting a lot of play on, H.E.R radio stations, getting a lot of play on and I remember having conversations with them and them explaining that there's such a demand for this song. This is Best Part now. We're gonna put it in syndication, meaning across all of
the
our
country.
stations.
Yeah.
Because it matters.
Right.
So it's rare. But
It's undeniable at this point.
Yeah. When it's undeniable, it doesn't matter if you're independent or not.
Right.
But it's back to his point. The power of having a hit.
Yeah.
If you don't have a hit, everything is way harder because the hit opens every door. Every conversation is, oh, you have this song.
Yeah.
What would you like? Or what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of that it's momentum. So you have to, okay, we have this. We had that first one. We better come with the next one.
Yeah.
That was Best Part. So we knew it's like back to,
That's
we're talking about Boy Wonder and seeing when you have a moment and all the doors open and everyone is excited. It's like that's when you have to. So we knew
It's
with
momentum.
Best Part.
Momentum's
It's
the real thing, man.
this is an investment that is going to pay dividends.
Troy. I talked to Troy a couple of weeks ago, and he said the same thing. I asked him, with Gaga, how did you go from the 150 cap room to the 20,000? He's like, hits.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hits.
That's the name of the game, bro.
Yeah.
Go from having a hit to hopefully getting people to care about the artist. And that's hard. That's a step
Mhm.
because a lot of artists, they stop at the hit.
Which you can't really sell the arena, but you got to be invested with the artist. Yeah, in order for people to come and show up and care, right?
Any
To
more than
care
that.
about the
Yeah,
artist.
To care.
Yeah. How did you identify that Daniel was special? How do you know that like you're working with somebody and you're like, no, we can go really far here?
I think for
What
me,
are those markers?
For me, it's he's probably pound for pound one of the most impressive songwriters I've ever worked with in my life.
Yeah.
Period. Like his ability to translate what he's feeling and translate what he's living into lyric and then into song, into melody is uncanny. But for me, he just has the gift. Like seeing him I remember when we were finishing Freudian, we would end every single one of the sessions playing basketball outside because we were working at a Red Bull studio. So we would just hoop, right? And there was one day where he was hooping and he got really winded, so he had to. His lungs.
You got like lightheaded.
Yeah, well, I mean, then I think his asthma was acting up, but
Okay.
and so he had to sit down, and so he got winded, and like he was like, "I need a second." So he was like this, breathing heavy, and I heard him start to sing something, and I was just like, "Yo, what are you singing?" And he's just like, "Yo, somebody passed me the phone," and so we passed him the phone, and he recorded. I can't remember what song it was for.
It was the verse of Transform. Yeah.
And so then he records it like half-winded after just playing basketball. And like we heard the melody, and like the whole game stopped. We were all just like
Ran back in the studio.
We got to get in there.
Sweating.
Yeah.
Right, but it's like that's his process. Then me seeing him he's literally channeling a greater power that's like through him. And,
While
like,
getting cooked.
But
he's getting
work still, low key.
But it's like for that to happen, then for him to end up channeling something that fire, I was like, no, like you have it. And artists like that, they don't come around very often. You know what I'm saying? So that for me is when I'm just like, no, like he's got it.
Mm.
Like it's a gift. It's a 100% a gift.
And so now when you're working with artists, is that the bar in a lot of ways?
I think it's a tricky question. It's a tricky question because every artist is different. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on artists to be like, this is what like.
Well, you don't tell them that,
Well,
but
of
I'm saying
course.
for you guys, right? Like, does that? Because okay, we talked about this. When you work with an artist of that caliber, and you've done some incredible things, seen the world, broke new ground, leaders in that in a lot of ways. Because I do definitely credit you guys as the best to do that independent route at that time and be innovators in it, because you guys were not. You weren't anti-label. You worked with the labels. You figured out structures that gave you guys ownership, but worked with major label artists.
Right.
You know, so you did so many incredible things with this group and this dynamic. So when you do that, and then now it's like there's so much that you've experienced and learned. How difficult is it to see now another artist and be like, yeah, but
Yeah, I think it is the bar, but maybe not in exactly in the way that you're asking. It's a bar as far as like what we know what it takes.
yes,
Right. And it takes a lot. Like to decide you're not gonna go the traditional route and sign a deal. Like a record label is just, it's a natural like arrangement of all the things that an artist needs. So if you don't sign a deal, you have to go out and get all those things
yeah, of course,
yourself.
right.
So we now know what it takes. We know how much work it takes, how much you got to be dedicated to, how much everyone has to be dedicated to it, but also how much everyone has to be on the same page. That might be the most important thing.
Yeah,
A few talented people working together towards one goal, you can get really far. You know,
For
and
sure.
I think learning those things, we know that that's what it takes.
yeah.
So when you do it again,
Yeah, again for like even for our instance, right? You know, when we ended up like I say I mean Jessie, Reyez, Byron, and myself. We went with the major label because we truly felt, and we did have those partners in that building, and our deal was as well. It's a license deal. We retained ownership.
Mhm.
It was a net profit split. We were looking at the Excel spreadsheet, although I had to fight with my product manager tooth and nail for that expense sheet. I'm like, where are you spending this money?
to get access to it.
Yeah. I
Right.
fought with him for like 2 months, but I loved him. Shout out Billy Zaro. Billy's like, he was incredible. And that we signed to Island, David Massey at the time. Really signed to Lucian, you know, and, yeah, it went all the way up to the center. But we had to, like, you know, we felt like we had the right people. Jermai got hired. Jermai Thomas got hired. Shout out to Jermai. He got hired by Massey at Island. So we felt like we had our inside man inside of the building operating for us, making it shake. And so we had all those services plus the profit split and ownership and a really good deal, to be honest, you know. access, structure, reach, promo from
Right.
Republic. So, and she was 110% the priority on that label. Still is to this day,
Mhm.
right? So we had all that as well
Right.
too. So it makes sense
Right.
for us to do it in that
Right.
sense,
Right.
right? There's so many ways to skin the cat,
Right.
Mhm.
and then but you guys, did it on your own,
Yeah.
but you still had to figure out all those
Mhm.
partnerships as well too.
Yeah, like there's a point when with the second album where we just realized we toured for the first time. We did an actual world tour. A lot of artists get to be able to do that. We're going, every continent and seeing how many fans he has, all these territories that are not served. We're not marketing in these territories. We're not doing any outreach. We're not connecting with the people who work at Spotify, for example, in these places. Not doing any marketing at all in these places. So that's when we said, this can be bigger.
You saw the gap there.
Yeah, that was it. It's like, okay, we know where the extent of our relationships. So let's go and add a piece to extend that. Right. So that was working with the Orchard, doing a distribution deal that was, it's called an enhanced deal.
Yeah.
So it comes with some marketing and some access. So it's like that was like our first. It's similar to a license.
Yeah.
Better split in the favor of the artist.
For sure.
So it's kind of somewhere in between distribution and license.
Yeah.
It's kind of where it falls.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we did. It's the term, and
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's you're not compromising the goal of ownership. But like he said, we're never going to, out of pride, stunt the growth of this thing. And Daniel agreed with that.
Yeah.
We're not going to, because we all felt this pride of we wanted to prove that we could do it. So a lot of people say you can't do it. So we felt that's like motivation. You want to try to do it.
Yeah.
But we also don't want to be irrational about it.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to not, stunt the growth. Let it become what it's going to be.
Yeah. How did you, after you did the deal? So this is for case study.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. How do you feel that partnership went with the Orchard?
It was great. I think. Yeah. Orchard. It's one of those companies similar to Cobalt. I have a lot of respect for Cobalt because they don't over promise. They're not saying I can do all of these things and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do. It's like they tell you what they can do.
Yeah.
And they deliver that.
Yeah.
And I think that's.
Knowing you guys go into a system like that, or maybe not go into a system, but you start to see it and you're like, oh, I think we can do this like this if we do it. Did you guys do a little bit of that? You like,
yeah, I had that moment that you had where I had to convince our product manager at the time to I was like, who are you doing print advertising? Let me see who's the company.
Yeah.
It took like 2 months.
Yeah.
And I finally got the contact. So now I have the contact. You know what I mean? Let me just see, because that's another thing. It's like the labels, it's not like the system where everything is in-house.
Exactly.
Not at all.
No, they got vendors.
If anything, the majority of things are
The
outsourced. If we're keeping it
majority.
as fuck, it's really just a glorified middleman. It's like a bank and like a middleman
100%.
the dots.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I think that was, I remember he told me, he's just like, yo, bro, I got the contact. I was like, for what? He's like, yo, I know the company that they use.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, it's one company to do everything. And I was like, oh, so it's lit. So it's like next time, if we want to go back to TuneCore or ourselves, whatever, we can activate. Because I think another main reason why we decided to go with the Orchard also is because Case Study wasn't initially going to be LP2. Initially, we said it was going to be like a mixtape. And we were going to start like with Case Study volume. And we were just like, so it was just less pressure. We didn't want the pressure of LP2 on our shoulders. So we made Case Study and we were in with Pharrell and, making some songs and
best salesman in the game, bro.
Bro, shout out to P, man. And
shout out to P.
He literally, we played in the record and he was just like, y'all calling this a mixtape?
Right.
We're like, yeah, it's Case Study, volume 1. And he was just like, I hate to be the one I regretfully have to inform you guys that you guys did not make your mixtape. You guys made your second record. This is your second record. You guys just didn't know it. And we're just like, nah, because that's like XYZ UBC. And he's just like, you guys would be doing the music a huge disservice.
For sure.
Calling it and treating it like a mixtape because this is your record. This is LP2. So then we had multiple conversations. We were just like, okay, well, shit.
Mm-hmm.
If this is going to be LP2, everything changes. Marketing approach changes. Promotion changes. I had a tour like a 5-city run that was already confirmed, big shows. And I'm just like, well, this can't be the official tour of the second record. So adding dates. But the issue was those dates that we had confirmed were concrete. They're really big rooms. So it's like avails. I couldn't move it later.
Oh, yeah.
So because of that, we're just like, hey, well, like if we can't drop the music later because we have these shows that are anchored, then we need to activate on a global scale quickly. Like Freudian, we were able to do that. Not obviously globally, but like in our key markets. But it's like for LP2, for the markets that we knew that we then had to activate and service in, as to Jordan's just, his point, we couldn't do it ourselves in that amount of time. We're talking about like a month and a half, I feel like it was.
Yeah.
It was quick, bro,
Mhm.
to be like, hey, we have this record and we need to activate globally, go.
Yeah.
So we knew that we had to bring on a partner. So the whole point of that was like the main reason was to be able to activate marketing promotion-wise globally. So when he got the contact for who they went to get it done in a month and a half, we were just like, oh, it's lit.
Wait. The contact. What does this contact do?
Well, I was just
The
like
company.
collecting marketing contacts.
Oh, okay.
Who are they using for digital?
Oh, okay.
Who
For
are they
digital.
using for out of home, billboards, print?
Oh, I
Right.
see.
See
Okay.
how. So but it wasn't for this album though.
For what?
It wasn't for case study though. This was because we used case study. We used the Orchard to do case
Oh,
study.
yeah.
Yo,
Meaning for future.
It was just for the future, yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It wasn't for case study. It was for like to
Yeah.
have the contact for
Right.
in future if we ever needed it, obviously.
Yeah, but then you started activating on them with case study.
Yeah, I mean, the Orchard, obviously working with them for it was huge. But like the ability for them to be able to activate in a short amount of time was exactly what we needed to make it feel like
Right.
LB2. Because it switched from mixtape to LB2 in literally
Yeah, it was like
hour and a half
we
conversation with Pharrell.
we had finished the album or the mixtape, like the project, with this mixtape type of marketing plan in mind,
Yeah.
and then the collaborators, Pharrell and the other collaborators on it, they're kind of saying, "I don't think this is a mixtape."
Oh, even
guys."
other collaborators were saying this
yeah,
isn't a
it's not a
mixtape.
mixtape, guys.
Yeah, you
John
guys are trying to
Mayer,
fool yourselves.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
This is Brandy with E1. They want everyone wants.
Mhm.
Don't like back to the conversation of don't stunt the growth.
Yeah.
Let it be what it actually wants.
Or
to be.
downplay
Don't downplay
what
it.
you're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's just Canadian.
So then it was
Yeah.
trying to be
Canadians.
nice and shit. So then it was like, okay, now we have to, in a very short amount of time, switch gears. And the Orchard was crucial for that.
Yeah.
To be able to say, yeah, we could go quickly and we could go out globally quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
That was 6 weeks.
It's quick.
And you established a partnership at that point with them, or
I think we were.
or you were just like, no, we
No,
gotta.
we-
No,
was
we
like-
didn't. It was
Also, you're
Seems
sitting there and you're
somehow
saying, okay, we're gonna switch this up, and because I have a tour that's coming, we gotta find
we
a
gotta go
partner.
like now.
Oh, so then it's just like,
Mhm.
all right, cool. Let's
And by
really
this
start
point,
working.
everyone would literally jump at the opportunity to work with Daniel. So
Right.
we could make. So it was like we said, okay, let's do big distributor who can give us some marketing.
Yeah.
Let's try that. So we met with them, and the Orchard situation was good.
What I'm getting from this is how crucial relationships are. I think this stuff isn't happening if you guys aren't building that network,
Yeah.
building these relationships, being good humans
Yeah.
in the process, and people wanting to work with you.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, it's like it starts with Anthony, it starts with Manswell. Like it's momentum from that point, right? Getting a great agent in Caroline.
Yes.
Shout out to Caroline, yeah, man.
That's through like Felicia and Carl. So all these relationships sort of stack up. Even getting to Apple Music, Carl Sherry to hear the music
Shout out to
Was-
Shout out to Carl.
because of Deontay.
Yeah.
You know Deontay?
At TuneCore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was our guy.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Deontay was at Apple.
He was at Apple when you,
I think so.
I thought he was at TuneCore.
Or maybe it was TuneCore.
He might have been too good. I think he
Yeah.
went to Apple after.
But
Yeah.
that was Anthony's relationship.
Yeah, right.
Going back to
Crazy.
blog days. You know,
Crazy.
so it's all,
It's all connected.
and then you're trying to capitalize on momentum.
Wow. Yeah.
But it doesn't happen. Like if we don't have all of those things leading to the Apple opportunity, that was a big one. You know,
Yeah, it
it's
was.
a big opportunity for us. And then obviously being prepared for it. Not only did we make the music that was good that people reacted to,
Yeah.
but we already the reason why they said I think this can work with Daniel and his team
Yeah.
is because they saw the team and they saw the the groundswell and the structure that we had already built. We did our first shows already.
Yeah.
We already sold out in LA. We already sold out in New York and Toronto, and they saw that, okay, they are ready to handle a potential
Sure.
bigger song.
Right.
So let's try to help them have a bigger song. That's the idea.
Yeah. Very important.
Yeah.
That structure that you guys had, because it wasn't typical, right? It was like, because you guys are also producers, but your management. But can you talk a little bit about how you structured it? And again, not specifics, but like, just so I think it's important for people to understand the structure, because you guys did it in a really interesting way that I don't think anybody was really thinking of it that way.
Yeah, it started off very typical. We just did a production deal.
Okay.
So it was a standard production deal between us and Daniel. And then when we all decided we didn't want to, and then so in the production deal, the arrangement was typical. It's like we produced the music and we paid for the marketing and videos and stuff like that. And then when we decided we wanted to,
Not all production deals do that.
You're right. Yeah,
Not
all production deals make the music. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
But they're supposed to
supposed to
develop and
Sure.
and
Facilitate.
put up money. Right.
Yeah.
That's the conventionally the argument to owning a stake is you put up money.
Yeah. You did it the way it's supposed to be done. Yeah.
Like any
Exactly.
business.
Yeah.
So we started off, it was like that, just traditional. And then when we all decided we don't want to sign a deal for the album, we said, let's start a label. So we went in as partners on a label. So we just said, it's like ripping up the old deal. The old deal had terms and it was based on, this and that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, that doesn't apply anymore because we're not doing this traditional path. So we went in as business partners and we said, let's start a label. The label just dealt with music, it dealt with touring, and merch. And then we left anything else out of it, like publishing or endorsements or anything like that. That was kind of just his business.
Just for him.
Our the saying was eat what you kill.
Yeah.
So if we literally pay for the tour, pay to do the shows, and to plan them and MD and creative direct and all those things, do that whole process. So we would share in touring, but we wouldn't share in publishing because it's like he's got his publishing.
Sure.
We are also
You guys are also public.
Yeah,
you guys are also
we don't
public.
need
we
to that.
share the songs if we actually contribute to the songwriting.
On the songwriting,
Exactly,
on the songwriting side,
So-
but on the master, you guys are all partners. On it.
Right.
Right.
So I don't need that. I don't need a piece of that.
So you guys, it's important to note, you guys are operating as managers, but you're not taking commissions as
Yeah, we
managers.
didn't
You're
commission
business
correct.
partners.
Yeah,
So we're business partners.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is like, Troy said something like this, which is super important. It's like the incentive is aligned.
Yeah.
You're not doing crazy. Not that you would, you know
Yeah.
what I mean. But you're not putting your artists in.
Chasing the commission.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And putting them in precarious deals that are not going to further the career.
Yeah.
You're actually all incentively aligned. It's like, let's do what's best for your brand, us as a company, us as a record label.
Right.
We had there was never a situation where we encouraged him to do any shitty endorsement thing because there's no.
You guys never did it.
We didn't because it's like he didn't want to do it first of all.
Yeah.
So like back to like it's yes or no. What do you think about this? No. Okay, we don't do it.
Yeah.
There's no incentive for anyone else.
Yeah.
There was nobody taking a management commission.
Exactly.
Traditional management is commissions on everything across the board, right? So,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
So
didn't
there
have
was
that.
you didn't have that.
There was no need. And it's like, it just seemed like the fairest way. Like we didn't even pay ourselves a producer royalty for making the music because we were sharing in the master. So why would I pay myself a royalty on top of
It's like a double dip.
It's like a double dip.
Yeah.
So it's like, it just made, that structure made the most sense for us. And morally, it just felt right considering all the things that we were doing. And to Jordan's point, eating what we kill. It's like, I'm already sharing this, so I don't need to pay myself a traditional royalty on top of this. I don't need a management commission because it's like, we're already sharing in the profits of the company itself. So let's just treat it as like building a business and sharing in that.
I fucking love that because a lot of times I think artists kind of get caught up on the like, I need to own 100% of my masters. But it's like, if you find the right partners and do good by it, and you do good by them, it's like, I'm not going to take commissions. We're going to treat this as a business. We're going to like operate as a record label, and I'm not going to take a producer fee in advance because why would I do that and take out money from the thing? And it's like, I'm taking it out twice.
Right.
You're doing a deal that incentivizes everybody. it to me is like, A, it doesn't happen often. If ever, it's rare. Maybe it happens more now. And B, it's like you said, like morally, it's the right thing to do by your business partners.
Yeah.
That's why I think you guys have such, man, you guys are 14 years deep in this business, 15, and you're still operating at an incredibly high level. Obviously, you're incredible producers, you're incredible businessmen, but like you're just good people to work with as well, too. You know, we worked with I remember that was when I first learned that you guys don't take the fees or advances when we did the Figures Reprise.
Right.
And that was
waiting to pay us. And we were just like,
yeah. I was just like, what is it? Like, we're fine.
Yeah.
Like this is how we kind of do things. I was like, oh.
But what's interesting about that is it's because it's very unconventional. So it's hard for some people to wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
So they go, there must be something wrong with it.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen this before.
Right.
It's like, no, you haven't. You haven't seen producers make hits and run the business.
No.
So they go, well, you shouldn't be able to do both.
Why not?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, so it's because it's unconventional, it takes a second for people to go, wait, I don't understand how.
I don't understand, right.
Why don't you just give it to a label? It always goes back to that. Like, why isn't there another label? They're taking it. You guys are keeping it. And then you figured out a way that's a bit unconventional, but, you know, everyone gets to eat, you know? And I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around it.
Especially when you're breaking ground with that.
Right.
So the innovators never understood.
Right.
But then you're the ones that are taking taking the bullets.
Mm-hmm.
You're having to explain yourself. Now you're proving the model.
Right.
Then you're proving yourselves, but then that becomes the model.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
People then follow in your footsteps into what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, from the major label standpoint, it's a threat to
For sure.
to them and to what is typical. You know what I'm saying? Them being like, okay, well, this is also working in a way that is very unconventional and contrary to kind of how we do things. And so I understand the apprehension of them being like, well, I don't understand what's happening here, and I can't wrap my head around it. And so for them, they were kind of just like, well, why don't you just do it the way that everybody else does it? Because it's easy and it's tried, tested, and true. We were kind of just like, well, no, like this way makes sense to us, and it seems fairer. And more importantly, going back to my point about the business, it just makes more business sense for everybody, including the artist who is a part owner in the company that he himself is signed to, which doesn't always happen. It rarely happens if we're giving it a buck. So I think a lot of it was also us being like, no, this makes sense for us, and we're going to continue to do it our way. But I could also understand how to them they were kind of just like, but this is what I was taught, and this is how we do things, and this is how the industry works. So it's like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah, but they're employees, bro.
yeah.
A lot of times, no, it's changed a lot over the last little bit, but it's like they're employees. They don't, you know, even
I think for me it was when when we started sharing our statements for Best Part with Jeff, and we started saying them to him. And I remember he called me, and he was just like, Matthew, he's like, this is what you guys are bringing in on Best Part? I said, yeah, this is what you're doing, and this is what's coming in.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I got to make some calls. He literally said, thank you for this. I got to make some calls.
Yeah.
I don't know what calls he made or conversations that he had, but like he was just like, these numbers are like, are you sure? And I said, yes, this is what we're bringing in. Because again, maybe, I don't know for certain, but maybe like the numbers that he was seeing on his end weren't necessarily reflective
Of what?
scale-wise.
What you were saying.
I don't know. But he was just like, this is crazy.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's like,
Yeah, 'cause there's
we're like, all right.
Without a doubt. We had when we put out, sorry, not to cut you
No, go
off,
ahead.
but when we put out Figures, it was independent,
Mm.
24 hours later. And I got to give Jessie a ton of credit for this because I remember this to this day. On the YouTube description, we had Byron and I said, let's put Dana Myerson's to reach out to any PR. And Jessie's like, you know Jessie, she's like, what the fuck you guys doing? And she's like, why are you putting Dana? Oh, shout out to Dana. We love Dana. Like, and she's the best. And I love her to death. She's still the best at this point. But she's like, why don't you put your contacts in there? You know, you're the managers. And so we did. And so we put in the description, Mauricio, Ruiz, and Byron Wilson. And within 24 hours, we had every label in our email. Within 48 hours, it was like 200 from presidents to CEOs across the UK, across everywhere. I was overwhelmed. I was like, yo, to like your point, like that thing did happen, kind of felt like
Yeah.
just like out of a cannon.
Right.
And we set up a bunch of calls for like 2 weeks later. We didn't want to take the calls right away. We wanted to like let it digest and kind of build outward more with the general public than go and started having the conversations with people in the industry, because we didn't want the momentum to like slow down. Because, you know, that takes away from, and especially when you're a smaller team, putting stuff out, content, as they say. And then we started having the calls with the labels. And then 2 weeks after that, or a week after that, we started meeting with the labels. But right before when we started meeting with the labels, because it took about a month to get a TuneCore statement. It's the same thing. I saw that TuneCore statement and I logged in. And I did the math. I was like, this is the same amount that a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer gets, you know, on a salary. If I break down the salary on a yearly basis, this is what this looks like on a monthly basis, combined. I called Byron. I was like, yo, Byron, have you seen this TuneCore statement? He's like, no. I was like, have a look. And we were like, yo. So when we started going to those record labels, it was like, yo, we're not here to sign. We're just here to learn and understand this. And shout out to Pat, because I remember calling him after I had got off the call with a chairman of a label. And he's like, you feeling it yet? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, go meet with everybody. Chance and I still go and we meet with everybody. And he's just like, just learn how this works. Learn how that operates. Best case scenario, you're meeting some of the artists. They put you in touch with some of those people. You can do some collabs and features and whatnot. Worst case scenario, you don't do a deal and you keep going, right? Or maybe in his mind, worst case scenario, you do a deal.
You do a deal, right?
yeah. But that was 6 months process of us learning the whole thing, understanding how this all works and the operation. But nobody was gonna force us into a shitty deal because we saw the value.
Yeah, you see it.
Yeah, the revenue that was coming in. It was crazy. Right. And so, but again, you know, our decision was to go and partner up.
Yeah, of course.
We didn't sign. She didn't sign as an artist.
No.
We partnered up with her.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man. It's
because you already had too much information.
We had way too much information.
And you were making money.
And we were making money.
That changes everything.
It changes everything.
It changes
everything.
Because now it's just like, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Like it takes away the fear and it takes away like the desperation. It's like, I don't have to do this. To be clear, I can just reinvest this money, hire my own team. It's just more work.
Yeah.
But I can create what you guys are offering me. I don't have to do this. So because of that, it's like the deal has to make complete sense for me to agree to do this.
Yeah.
It's like leverage, you know what I'm saying? And it's such a beautiful thing. But again, as I said earlier, not everybody's afforded the luxury of going into negotiations with a hit. It rarely happens.
Very few.
It really happens.
And it happened at the same time, roughly, is kind of insane.
True.
I don't know when I say at the same time is, again, Jessie and Daniel had bidding wars for them at the same time. We're all from Toronto.
Right.
We're all having
There's not a lot of artists from Toronto getting bidding wars. Like, doesn't happen.
The last one, Peter Edge told me, he's like, because he came to our office and Peter Edge pulled up with Mr. Morgan. Shout out Mr. Morgan, Toronto native. Peter came to the office. He's like, you know, when the last time I came to Toronto to sign an artist, I was like, The Weeknd. He's like, yeah.
Wow.
He's like, is able.
Yeah.
I came over here to see what he was about. So that was 5-6 years before us.
Wow.
Right.
So yeah, it was crazy. So you guys, so let's fast forward a little bit. Case study happens. You guys do that. Take me through the process there, because you guys you're no longer managing Daniel, right? What at that point you guys, you know, decide to go separate ways. How does that process look like? You know, I think, where are you guys at in your career at this point when that's happening?
COVID stopped our tour. Happened with a lot of artists.
Yep.
We weren't done touring. And then I think there was a big difference in the creation process with the second album versus the first one.
Sure.
The first one, back to the idea of like everyone being aligned creatively. The second one, there was a lot of compromise because everyone is still a good team player, but it was compromise creatively in the direction we wanted to go. I think once you compromise, you kind of sacrifice what the thing can be creatively. So we kind of got to that point.
But from your guys' perspective, though, is like, I mean, are you at this point as well saying, you know, it's challenging juggling the management and the producer and the record label? Are you guys also in that headspace a little bit because there's so much going on, maybe?
I mean, I feel like at that point we were pretty dialed in because we hired.
You got everybody.
we hired help. So we had
Okay.
Jamie, Kim, like we had people that were
Yeah.
there helping us run the business. So at that point, we were, I think, the most free we had probably ever been.
Okay.
We started managing Charlotte Day Wilson. Shout out to Charlotte. Because
Also, that happens while you're...
we were still managing Daniel when we started managing Charlotte. And that happened because we had the bandwidth to do it. Because the Golden Child Daniel Caesar business was in such a place where it was kind of running itself.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say we were bombarded with how much we were juggling. It wasn't that. I think it was just really just a decision of his to be like, you know what, let's have a conversation as family first and foremost. And let me tell you guys where my head is at.
Yeah, sure.
What I feel like I envision for myself. And then he went on, obviously he signed to Republic, like the model changed. So I think his approach and his perspective on what his career looked like from a business standpoint also changed. And so it's kind of just like, because I'm in this place where I feel like I need to take a turn, I think I need to commit to this and kind of have a team that makes sense for the direction that I now want to go in. And we're just like, Jordan and I are people where it's just like, we're never going to get in the way or stand in the way of that. It's like, we did amazing work collectively. And it's like, that's also the benefit on like doing something and creating something together. It's like Golden Child, the child that we created together, we still are business partners in.
For
So
sure.
it's easier.
Yeah, you guys still retain that business.
So it's easy to be like, you know what, like if you feel like you need to do something different with your career right now, at least the work and what we created together, we're still able to collaborate with and work together.
I love that.
In that company and for that company forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the record that you put over Republic, you guys have 4 or 5 songs on that, right?
Yeah.
You guys are still collaborators. Regardless. It's still family.
Exactly.
It's still family.
It's a different relationship, especially how it starts. It's just like it's a family relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So so then you guys now, not managing Daniel, but now, present day, no longer management.
Correct.
There's this smile on his face.
For now.
For now.
Because I think you probably agree with this. You learn in this business, it's very hard to predict what even 6 months is going to look like.
Yeah.
How many times is like we think we know what it is, and then it's just kind of not.
True. Very often.
But I think, speaking for myself, the priority is creating for me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I learned through this whole process of doing a lot of things. It's like you can do a lot of things, but you only have so much bandwidth, and it's going to take away from everything.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning to you before, like there'd be times when, we'd be in the studio, let's say with Daniel working on later on in the process. So not the third album, but like the second album, for example, or maybe even first album, where we're trying to focus on the music, but we're getting all these calls and we have to deal with these things as managers. And he knows that this is his career. It's for him and his business, right? We're making him money each time we step out, take a call or something like that. Yeah. But it still would bother him because it's like, damn, I just want it to be how it was when we started, just in the basement.
That's fair.
Where we could just lock
Super
in
fair.
and it's just about the music.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you do all these things. You can't do everything to your fullest sort of capacity.
Right. But do you recommend it?
Well, I think recommend
doing the way that you guys have done it. I mean, it's kind of an anomaly.
Like you would have to have what we had in terms of like, the team is really what it is. Like I feel like if an artist wants to build it out and wants to have their own ecosystem, then I think 100%. If that's your aspiration, you should definitely go for it. 100%. Because I think it's very rewarding. Not that signing to a label isn't, but it's rewarding in a different way because it's like everything is passing through your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it feels different. It hits different on the other side. But I think you have to be realistic, as we've been saying this entire conversation. It's a lot of work, and there's a price to be paid across the board. If I'm in the middle of being creative and I'm like, oh, I got this crazy idea, like, I'm in the middle of cutting chords and I get a call from my agent who I need to take the call because we're waiting to get confirmation on a venue. I have to like stop what I'm doing, stop being creative, pause the creative process to go and handle this thing, to come back and hopefully pick it back up from where I left off. But hopefully...
It's not a guarantee.
Correct. It's not a guarantee. So sometimes I come back in and it's not. It's different. So it's like there's a cost to be paid across the board. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's like we were able to make it work. And I think we prided ourselves in being able to use both sides of our brain, because even that in itself is different and an anomaly. Being able to be creative, but also to be able to step out and take a whole conference call, run a marketing meeting, run a whole tour, you know what I mean? Like, that's why so many people were just like dumbfounded, being like, how are you guys able to do all this? You know what I mean? We'd be on stage during shows And right before, I'm there running guests in, answering emails. I entered the email one time on stage, and Caroline.
While you're performing,
I don't even know why, to be honest. I don't know why I did
you
this.
just flexing.
Well, it was just quick. It was like quick little, oh yeah, I forgot. So I just put
remember
like a yes. And then I remember Caroline Yim was on the thread. And after the show, she's like,
Like, I can see you right
she's
now.
like, what? You
she's
sent
doing
that
this.
email? She's like, when did you send that? I went during Blessed. And she was just like, my phone went off and I looked and I see your name. And she's like, I'm looking up and I'm like,
But like you play, you just only you playing.
that's
One
what I
hand,
was on
one
drums then. I was on drums then.
Oh right.
I was on drums. So it's like, that was my break.
I got nothing to do.
So I was just like, yo, I picked up my phone, sent the email. And so like that kind of thing, they were just like, we've never seen this before.
But it's like we text and stuff all the time during shows, so it like we're used to that. Like it's like even like I'll be front of house,
Yeah,
for
true.
example,
Yeah.
and then he's on stage, and I might need to tell him something, or
Right.
so the phone is always there.
It's always there.
So it's probably not a
It's
big
easy.
deal.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
opening
aware.
messages versus Gmail, and I'm just saying yes.
No, I'm
You know
aware.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
I'm aware. I mean, for those who don't know, Burnett's also a musical director for so many artists. You know, Victoria Monet being the most recent, right?
Mhm.
Victoria Monet, Jessie Reyez, Daniel Caesar, Charlotte Day Wilson, Willow Smith.
I did Willow
I'm
for a
about to
bit.
spill some tea, but I'll
No, hold
be
that.
quiet. I'll hold it.
Queen Naija, I did
Oh.
Queen as well.
What you have?
I can't.
No,
Yeah,
no.
give me permission. I can't.
No.
Okay.
All will be
You already
revealed
see. You already know what he's gonna say, but yeah,
soon.
off camera.
Right.
But I do remember that and being like, yo, how the fuck does this guy manage Daniel Caesar, make the music, this whole business, but he's doing rehearsals with Jessie for like a week at a time or 2 weeks.
Well, that was an interesting time because that was a time
Crazy.
when our business was in a place where it was settled and like it was just running itself. So it's like
Oh, okay.
I had the bandwidth to be able to be like, you know what? And again, I told these guys, I sat these guys down and I said, yo, I feel like I need something more creative to occupy a portion of my time. Because at the time we were on the road performing, but we'd only get into the studio when it was time to make a record or to make a song, which is great. But it's like, you know, if you're off cycle and he's out living his life and writing the next set of whatever, there's a lot of time where I'm kind of just like managing and like waking up in calls and emails. And I was just like, man, I'm a creative first. I need to get back to this. So when you called me and you were just like, hey, I'm looking for a musical director for Jessie. We're finally ready to bring in the band. And you were just like, do you know anybody in Toronto, in the city? And I was just like, not anybody that I trust.
I
No
remember that.
shade to any MCs in the city. This is years ago. And I was like, there's not anybody that I could readily be like, yeah, you should go to this person. And I was just like, I'd be down to just like step in temporarily. We have this reoccurring theme of like stepping in temporarily for
commitment
things.
issues.
I guess so. I'm starting to see a through line here.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I'll
it's
step in
coming through.
temporarily. And then I sat these guys down and I told them, and I said, Danny, are you okay with me working with Jessie in this capacity?
Oh, she was the first one?
Jessie was the first one.
Oh,
Jessie
okay.
was the first artist that I musically directed outside of Daniel.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I checked with him and I said, are you okay with me doing this?
Of
And
course.
he said, yeah, I'm fine. Whatever do you think? Started with Jessie. And it was like the sense of gratification for being able to get creative again and put together, have a vision in my head as to like what I feel like I wanted the show to sound like and to feel like, and to see it come to reality. It was just like, I need to do more of that. So that was the start of me MDing more on the side. Eventually, I ended up getting myself out of the band with Danny, which is a whole other conversation that I had with him. And I was just like, I need to free myself up more.
Yep.
Everywhere you go to perform, I don't think I necessarily have to be there.
Right.
And also, Jordan and I spoke about it. And Jordan was always just like, when are you going to get yourself out of the band? And I was just like, never. And he's like,
And
no.
I was the one who convinced you to be in the band.
The irony.
Yeah,
You see the
hilarious.
trauma? You see the
Hilarious.
abuse that I have to go? I didn't even want to be on tour. I said, I'm going to stay at home, just going to like manage and be in the studio. And they were just like,
Yeah,
"Matthew,
right.
you have to come on the road.
Yeah.
You have to do the first tour." And then I never left
You never left.
until
Yeah.
years later when I was just like, okay, it's time for me to listen to this guy and be like, let me get out the band to free myself up. And that's when I really doubled down and started doing a lot more MD work.
There was one thing that happened on our tour that I think someone on the team was really stressed because we needed a money answer. And I think because you were on stage,
Mm.
it was for like the next show or something.
That's when you
like
hit the
that.
yes on the
But-
stage?
Nah.
No,
Yes.
that was when he was.
I missed that one.
Yes to the bag.
That was before you were comfortable enough to be working while playing. Well played.
Right.
And so they had to wait on an answer.
Mhm.
And I couldn't give the answer because it was like a touring thing. So I think that was kind of when we were like, okay, it's too many things.
Someone's got to give.
So the division of labor was like you were handling touring, you were handling marketing, more or less?
More or less. I mean, there was obviously a lot of
I mean, you guys are
crossover,
both
but,
in
like,
the conversations, but
right.
you say like you're the lead on this and
Yeah.
you're the lead
Correct.
on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So like when it would But even like there's some marketing things that he would do. Or like when we do a show, I'm doing the visual part. Like make sure the lighting is cool and everything. Yeah.
So a lot of crossover, but we were having regular conversations. Like every now and then, like if we were stepping on each other's toes, we would like sit down and be like, okay, like what are you gonna handle? What am I gonna handle? We would just realign, constantly have to realign to make sure that like the right person is answering or even thinking about that part of the business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So multiple conversations, just like
you probably know how
realigning,
that's like.
getting focus. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
You and
Byron and I, few and far between, but like we were like we're so yin and yang, but like everything kind of just aligned a lot of the times. He handled a lot of the touring. I handled a lot of the marketing, creative. You know, obviously Jessie she's always very involved in everything. But yeah, like every now and again, it was like certain things might slip through the crack because we didn't know who handled the thing.
Right, exactly.
Because a lot of times when the email will come in and just kind of be like the first one at it. Sometimes that would happen, right? And be like, okay, well, like let's figure out how to best navigate this process. So every now and again, we'd have those conversations. But our skill sets were like pretty determined before.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process that we had there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I remember with you and like MDing, you'd be there for those first 2-3 shows as well too, just making sure
everything's good,
tapped in. Him and I got into a full-on like shouting match at a Billie Eilish. Do you remember that?
Oh, really?
A shouting match because music is so loud.
Oh.
And we're having
it was friendly, it was Canadian, we were just being nice.
Super friendly.
Okay.
Super friendly. No, but we were like, because there was a creative thing. Do you remember?
I do. I think I do remember.
Gatekeeper,
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just because the music's so damn loud and we're in an arena, we're opening up for Billie. This is like day 2 of the tour that doesn't go on.
Wasn't this right before COVID?
It's like we got shut down.
I left and you guys didn't
got shut down. The next day. But I remember you and I were, because it was the moment where it was like Gatekeeper goes directly into another record. Because I used to love doing the creative side of things. I love the creative as well too, and the onstage thing, presence, right? And like navigating that, how to go in from one song to another. That was always like something that I really enjoyed. That stage presence. And I remember there was a song, it went Gatekeeper into another record. And I remember being there and we're like, it goes directly in. I'm like, oh, she's got to have that moment in Gatekeeper where like the music stops because it's so powerful. And everybody kind of like just starts to cheer Jessie. Like you can even like feel it as long as she stands on that stage and just absorbs it and like, takes that in. And I remember at that show, we're like talking about it, it's like, it looks like this. But we're like, no, but this is how I really actually feel about the situation. But like, no, I understand what you're saying right now. Well, we're super animated because you can't hear, right? And we're like, and he's also like on an email finish, like, but like here's the process.
just managing on the side.
Yeah.
Are people getting nervous around you? Like,
yeah, for sure. Because it's
it looked way more intense than it really was.
Yeah, the only guy who knows really is Cam. Cam's sitting there just being like, that's fine.
Shout out to Cam.
Yeah, shout out to Cam. So it was, man, that was awesome having you come on board. You definitely elevated things. But yeah, always super impressive. It's cool to understand. I mean, amazing to understand how you're able to navigate that.
Yeah. And like I said, I wouldn't have been able to, I say it all the time, I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Jordan, the team that we built.
Yeah.
Like holding down the forts. Obviously, I was still showed up and do my duties, and I was still not letting anything slip through the cracks. But I just needed that for myself at the time. You know what I mean? They're very understanding. They're just like, as long as like we know you're going to always get the work done.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like the work always gets done.
Yeah,
one or the other. Just a matter of how you want to spend the rest of the time.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, just a couple more questions. We'll get out of here. But I just wanted to bring it to present day, and ask more of a general question. How do you see this music business now in 2024 and the landscape of it, and how random records could become massive? How do you guys, or do you guys even think of that, navigate that? What is I guess my question is like twofold. How do you identify, a really great artist that you want to work with in 2024? But also, what do you think, it's a two-parter, what do you think makes a great manager in 2024?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Yeah, I think the first artist, it's like it has to be something special. about them. Special voice. Like you hear Charlotte's voice. Everyone who hears it is like, holy shit, this is a special,
Sure.
a special
For
artist,
sure.
a special songwriter, but a special voice. You know, I think Daniel has that. I'm always thinking I can never turn off the sort of like identity, branding, marketing part of it. So I'm always thinking, why will people care? Right? Because I've never been in the pop sort of hit making type of thing.
Yeah.
It's not what I do well. So having a hit, that's amazing. But I'm more worried about or concerned with figuring out how people will care about this artist.
Super important.
So I'm looking for those things. What is it about a person that's different, unique, special? It could be anything, right?
Okay.
Like we've seen it. Like it could be anything.
Okay.
And then special voice, special songwriter, something to say. You know, if they have that. Like you look at someone like Mustafa, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel it.
I want someone who's special. You know?
Yeah.
It's like he's anointed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he is. Like,
Pretty. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's really what it is. They're rare though,
Yeah.
few and far between.
Yeah.
But for me, that's what I look for.
Okay.
It's interesting too because there's
It's a great answer.
there's like different tiers of artists now that we have, where it's like there's like the artists like that are special, and it's like, why do I care? And there's a story, and then there's like the artists that get one off of TikTok, and you don't know who they are, but they get one,
Yeah.
and it's kind of just like, okay, well, I don't know you, so I don't know if I should care or not,
Right.
but it's like you got one and it's gone, and then you got this big ass deal and whatever, and it's kind of just like, yeah, both are great in their own rights for the artists in different ways. But what I always prefer is an artist that may not necessarily have one or two that gone on TikTok, but it's a slow build and they get one later, but it's like they're telling a story and they're building the arc of their career.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just find that makes for a longer lasting career.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh yeah, who was that artist that made that one song that went in 2014 again? I don't really like that personally. But I'm happy that at least for those artists, they're able to even have a moment, obviously. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm naturally drawn to artists with a story, with some sort of depth and like just something about them beyond just a song.
Yeah.
So I like the artists where I'm just like, yeah, I want to build with you. I don't necessarily just want to give you a hit. I want to build. Like, I'm invested in your career. Like I think your gift is amazing. And I think we're in a space right now where it's just like we have been afforded the luxury of working with artists that we are inspired to work with. So if I'm in a place where I can really pick and choose and be picky with who I get in with, I don't think I'm as interested in getting in with the artist that got one just by coincidence and luck. And yeah, hopefully it's a great song as well, because the timing made sense and the algorithm made sense and everything was viral, everything lined up. For me personally, I'm just in a space where I would rather build with an artist that is more looking at like longevity in terms of like what I want to say over the span of my career versus in like short bursts of moments. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
You know what I mean? But like I said, it's like at the end of the day, I'm happy for artists to just have moments, period. So even the artist that catches one on TikTok, great. It's like, it's amazing for you.
For sure.
And that's why I love TikTok as well. And I say this all the time. I love that music is in a place where you don't really know. Nobody fucking knows.
Nobody knows.
And I think it's beautiful because I think there's so many ways that the music industry has been perverted in the past, in terms of perverted in the sense where, you know, people behind the scenes pulling strings or paying for things to happen and to manipulate things to happen.
Yeah.
And then you have TikTok and it's kind of just like, let the kids decide.
Free
and it's
for all.
beautiful. It's like, it's putting the power back into the hands of the consumer. And so I love that it's lawless. And so my advice to all the artists are always just like, yo, like, make great art that you can stand behind and just let it fly. Let it fly. Like, long gone are the days where it's just like, you know, I don't know. And like, you know, is it the right time? It's like, it's a content game now. It's a frequency game now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, release it, get it out. And it's like, you might catch one in 2 years, we always say. Like, we always joke about it. It's like, yeah,
2 years
release.
later.
And it's like, in 2 years, you might have one.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how long it takes, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's always just like the landscape of the business has completely changed. It's a different game that we're playing now, or then we were playing then. And I just feel like, even from a managerial standpoint, to talk to your second point, I think managers just have to be okay with being patient. It's not a short game anymore.
That's a good point.
It's a long. We're playing long ball here. So I think long gone are the days where it's just like, all right, well, like, I mean, I'm gonna give you 2 years and hopefully, you know, something goes. It's like, no, my boy, like, we're seeing songs that are going from years ago that are not going now. It's like you
Right.
just never really know. So I think managers have to be very, very patient, have to be supportive, and just have to be mindful of adapting to the pace that we're living in now. It's a very fast-paced industry. So you need more songs, more content. And I think managers need to support where we are right now and let go of where we were in the past and understand that it's like what we're doing right now, we might not see dividends from the next couple months or even the next couple of years. It's a long game. I think we have to be more patient and just give more grace to like things happening and connecting and just like really commit to the process. I think sometimes managers these days is kind of just like, if I don't see a return on my investment soon enough, you start to doubt. But it's like, it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, how long did it take? Like, we were building Daniel Caesar for years before people would argue you saw the tip of the iceberg. That iceberg runs deep, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, it takes time. So I think that's the biggest with managers nowadays. You have to be patient. Everybody wants, I think because we're living in a viral era, it looks easy. It looks like you can catch one next week. Because it's like, yeah, like it's lawless. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, yeah, good song, right timing, algorithm, boom, 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 it went. But it's like, yeah, but it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes that viral moment might happen a year and a half, 2 years later. You gotta be okay with that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Do you think there's any truth to the fact that people say it's way harder to break an artist today than ever before?
Yes. Because I think we're in a system that rewards content creators. So some artists are good content creators, and some of them are not at
that's
all.
a good point.
And that's
That's a good point.
right.
It's not a knock to either.
No, it's not.
It's just this is what we've, you know.
Yeah.
Some people are very good at that.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
I think it's where we're breaking content creators. We're breaking the artists who know how to be content creators. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not like, could you imagine asking a young Frank Ocean or Amy Winehouse
To break in
to
this
be
day.
on TikTok or
Right.
to do any of these things?
Right.
They would stop. They would probably stop. They wouldn't even
They
say,
wouldn't,
"That's
they,
not-"
they might not entertain you.
I think that's probably why we
Music
don't have many new artists that we hold on that at that high regard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
A Kendrick Lamar, Amy Winehouse, Frank Ocean.
Yeah. And to the fact that I think the audiences are so fragmented these days as well. Too.
And
Not
also,
everything is
yeah.
coming through one outlet or one medium, right? So you're getting it from so many different places.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're getting very concentrated fan bases in different places.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's the biggest difference is if you make a system that rewards content, then the content creators are going to kind of break through easier.
I'm curious. And I said two more questions, but two more. I'm curious because just on that point, you know, you said you guys have always struck me as less is more. That's, I feel like your approach has been, maybe just because of the artists that you work with. How do you do less is more in 2024, 2025 with an artist? Where the algorithm rewards content.
You got to be established already.
Yeah.
So if they're not established, so let's talk about an artist that isn't established. You got to play the
Like
game.
I said, I think
you can.
you have to adapt to where the landscape is. We adapted during that time. It was blog era. What did we do? It's just like you try to break in the medium that's breaking artists.
Yeah.
So I think nowadays, as a manager, even if you're an old school manager, you have to like reinvent yourself and just like be very realistic as to where things currently are. So it's like less is more uncool, and it's like you can be tasteful and elusive, and it's like that's your brand cool, but find a way to try to be that while releasing more content. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like it's the kind of content. You know what I mean? Like maybe you make it a thing where it's just like more mysterious, whatever, but you're still releasing something. So you're reminding people that you're there and you're active. I don't know, but you got to find what works for you, but you also have to be realistic. I can't be like, oh, well, you know, this posting once every 3 months thing's going to work. My bro, like we are not in that place anymore.
No.
You're going to get drowned out. Like literally you post it even twice today, gets drowned out by so much more content. So I think you got to be realistic. You got to adapt to the pace.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that always shines, though, no matter what, even on these platforms, sure that there are certain strategies that you want to use that work for the platforms. We say platforms, but it's just the medium. But I think the one thing that's always going to stay true is like the authenticity of the person. You know, if you can only be the best version of yourself. You can't be the best version of somebody else because you're second best. That person's already out there. So if you can be as authentic as possible with how you are as a human being and be able to present that through these mediums, you have a better chance of success. And obviously, you know, I think like you said, longevity is for those who are true artists. Now it's just trying to marry those two worlds and figuring out how to work. And then that's where the management team has to come into play and be like, strategically, how do we do this so it aligns with who you are as a human being, but also is able to showcase your best talents out to the world?
Yeah.
And how do you do this at a pretty rapid clip as well, too, without having the artist go and say, "Fuck, I can't do this.
I can't do this anymore. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel
the burnout.
true to me.
Without
Yeah.
the burnout.
Yeah.
You know, it's like such a balance.
And that's kind of our fault. Being on the other side of it,
Yeah,
putting all the onus on the artist to
yeah,
say you
true.
have to be the marketing.
Right.
When, before
It wasn't like that.
Prince could just stay in the studio every
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
and just make music,
Yeah.
and then go perform the music.
Right.
And then it's
Yeah.
not my job to do it, your job. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Back to the label thing. If I'm signing to you, what's your job?
Right.
What's your perspective? If I
yeah.
make the thing, like you should,
You should be
But
marketing.
now
the
we
thing.
just go, you have to
You got to
have
do everything.
do it.
You got to do it.
You
Yeah.
have to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's wrong, probably.
I think.
It's like a cop out.
Yeah.
So we don't really know how to do it. So you just got to get on TikTok and do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough time.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
What's next for you guys?
More music.
More music.
Yeah.
More music. Like I said, just we're in a place where we could be 100% exclusively creative. And that's beautiful. So more music, obviously more shows for me. Just creative endeavors, have some plans, have some cool things in the works.
If the opportunity ever showed itself, would you get into management again? I know you said, who knows?
I will. However, I think I'm in a place where I'm only concerned and focused on being a part of things that I have stake in, that feel like something that I've created.
You heard it here first. He's still open to the idea.
Yeah, that's how you interpreted it.
That's how.
He said yes.
To all the artists, when you see this,
Managing,
still open.
managing your own thing is very
Yeah.
different than being manager for hire.
yeah,
And I think
I agree.
there's pros and cons in both. And shout out to the managers that don't really care to manage their own thing, but just want to help support artists
Yep.
that want the help and need the help. Love that. I don't think there's a wrong answer. But for me personally, I like taking care of my own tangible thing.
Yeah.
So I think if the opportunity presented itself, it would be something like that I would jump back in and be like, cool, this is just me taking. Because at that point, it doesn't feel like managing. It doesn't feel like you're taking care of your thing. It's like you're starting a business. You're taking care of your business.
You're building it.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, starting a business. Yeah.
I think if I got back into management, it would have to look like that.
And you?
I agree. Exactly. Everything he said.
Perfect. Yo,
I
I
couldn't have said it better.
it's an honor to sit with you guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. I think we were gonna do like an hour and a half. This turned into a 3-hour conversation. Truly some of the best humans I've ever met in this business.
Oh, thank you, bro.
You guys are incredible business people. What a fucking career. And it's just, it's cliche to say it, but it's just starting, right? You know what I mean? For everything that you guys have done. Pillars in Toronto. And I just appreciate you guys taking the time to tell your story and just, open up some of the game that you guys have learned over the years and sharing it with our audience here, man. So thank
Thanks
you.
for having us, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Man. You're a man, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
And that's it. I know.
That was good.
You go.
You've been dropping that thing.
Bro, that phone just keeps dropping. It's like the third time now already.